Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it? Luther and I and everyone in this arena tonight are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on. And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they've died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think it's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You have to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control. which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. 3. There are only 2 possible explanations. 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to bits! You can't make me do anything like this!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate
you. A nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
Well, I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I closed tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get 2 of us for the price of 1. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you."
Welcome. That's right. Welcome to It's Always Been About Race. And I want to say first and foremost, for those who might be in the audience tonight, to my subscribers, what's good, fam? It's a Saturday night. You know, Mr. Blow Your Mind normally don't do a Saturday night, but tonight I decide I'm going to go ahead and do it. Right? So welcome tonight. Passerbys, hey, you know, it's always a grand opening here. You know how grand openings is. Go down the aisles, see if you see something you like, purchase with a, you know, a like, don't like, dislike, put a comment, say I ain't shit, whatever it might be. That's what your prerogative is. Do what you must. Agent, Saturday night, you ain't got nothing else to do better than to watch Mr. Blows Your Mind. That's what you do, but that's what you get paid to do. So what you do? Okay, what's good with you too, right? Now, you know I must get my spiel out before I get it going. Hello and welcome to the Black Minds News. I'm your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind. This channel is to reiterate, transmit, communicate, articulate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it be by news, video, websites, or through quotes, I guess you could say, publications, right? As I, your whiteologist, go ahead and try to disseminate or articulate these points, I ask that the creator of the universe, spirit, be here, heart, mind, and soul. And as a descendant of the greatest people who created the greatest country that they call the United States, and over this channel here, we give honor. Because you know why? The truth don't need no partner. And you know what my motto is, y'all? I'm not going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. That's right, y'all. Saturday night, Mr. Blow Your Mind decided to put a show together. Because, again, I know for some of y'all probably like, man, I wish I knew a specific time. And so I know, well, it's always going to be around this time. You just don't know what day. Because, again, I always have to be kind of evading because certain people just do not work. Because one other thing I must say, this show right here, this right here, this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. You know why I can say that? I come on damn near every day live and can't get past 100 views. You tell me some open 24 hours like a 7-Eleven, right? 7-Eleven open 24 hours, 365 days, and they don't make no business. How does 7-Eleven stay open if no one comes by, right? So you have to ask yourself, what is it that keeps them from allowing Mr. Blow Your Mind? Because maybe it's just something what I'm talking about, but just what I'm doing. So it is what it is. I get it. So, you know, in this country, it's always something, especially how this whole thing was formulated. Yeah, the dichotomy between one particular people and another. And some people say, well, I don't believe in that. Everything is, you know, it's about people. And there's just the difference between elites. And I guess they said lumpen proletariats, right? You have, you know, you got to pull yourself by the bootstrap. There is no conspiracy in this land. So anything that you think of is just a figment of your imagination, Mr. Blow Your Mind. Race is not what this is about. We passed that. Why are you focused on that all the time? You know, matter of fact, compared to where it was in the old days when it was, you know, wind-up cars and, you know, had the, what they call, digital, right? Analog telephones, right? It went from analog to digital. Now we are in a more technological advance. Don't you see? We're free now. Really? We're more freer now than we was then. It depends on where you are right now in life, depending on what age you're in right now, right? If you're a little younger, this is all you ever know, but if you're a little bit older, you've been through the transitions, right? And there's a lot of our people who do not like to be on this stuff because they say all they know is all this stuff is surveillance. Everything is surveillance, your computer, your TV. What about them damn phones, right? Well, you know how I got to do it. Y'all got to start off with this. I'm going to go ahead and give you something that you probably know already, but it was something that was put out in the air today. You know, like y'all pass, puff, puff. Somebody put it in the air, you know, pass it to me, and I'm going to do what? I'm going to smoke it. I'm going to bring it over here, and we're going to smoke that, right? So, check this out. Let me see if I can set it up. Let's see how we're going to work tonight. Let's see if they're going to allow me or they're going to cut me tonight. You know, over here, you never know. You never know how it's going to go, right? It's never something always go according to plan, right? So let me see this right quick. Let me show you this and I'll come back. Check it out. Hold on. See if it's working.
Investigation. Do you know how much information your cell phone is really collecting about you and your location? Our chief business and technology correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, tried an eye-opening experiment. Rebecca, this could be more than we actually realize.
Yeah, absolutely, Cecilia. Good morning. Nice to see you. And it's so many of us now are carrying a smartphone. It's a top gift this holiday season. And this morning, we're taking a closer look at the vast amounts of information these devices are collecting on us and then sending back to companies like Google. What if someone or something was tracking your every move? Not just your location on a map, but your mode of transportation, even your elevation. More than half of Americans have Android phones and might be voluntarily agreeing to more than they realize. So, what data is really being collected when you accept Google's terms of service? These are two new phones. We haven't opened any apps on them. Neither has a SIM card. We did a demonstration when the weather was warmer to find out. Without connecting either phone to a network or Wi-Fi, we traveled around New York City to see if information was being gathered and how often. From the subway to a bike.
Heading out on a bike ride around 11:15 in the morning.
And finally,
getting into a car. It's about 12:15 and we're heading into Times Square.
Still not connected to any cellular network, I arrive back at ABC and enlist the help of cybersecurity expert Megan Stifel, a former director in the National Security Council at the White House, to see what type of information our phones are collecting, which might be sent back to Google.
We just connected it to our test station.
Connecting our phones to Wi-Fi for the first time, a startling discovery.
This phone doesn't have a SIM card. It wasn't connected to the internet, but it still was collecting all of that information.
Yes, and using all the sensors on the phone to obtain as much information as it can, even though it can't send it anywhere at that time.
And as soon as I connected to the network, it was transmitted back to Google.
Yes.
The Android's operating system tracking my unique device's movement, even identifying the mode of transportation, and at times taking 10 sensor readings per minute.
So at 10:25, it assesses that you were in a rail vehicle. So
on the train.
On the train.
It even knew when the phone was tilting underground.
At 11:16 a.m., what does it say?
On bicycle.
It says I was on a bicycle.
Yes.
Which is what I was doing at 11:16 a.m.
And then you got off and maybe you were walking around a little bit later. So at 12:05 today, what were you doing?
I was in a car.
It says in-road vehicle, in vehicle.
So it knows I was in a car heading uptown to the office.
Right.
When you agree to Google's terms of service, you're agreeing to some types of data sharing. But Stifel says users might not realize how extensive it is.
This is not something that the user necessarily opted into, or if they did opt into it, it was in a fashion that wasn't consistent with their expectations.
Google tells us that in order to provide basic services like security notifications and app updates, smartphones need to communicate with their operating system providers and cellular carriers on a regular basis. Google adds that users can view, manage, or delete the information associated with their Google accounts at any time.
Wow, so seeing you on that bike and them tracking you on that, that's really something. So how valuable is this information to Google?
Cecilia, this is extremely valuable information. And if you think about it, Google's business model, they make the most of their revenue off of advertising sales. And advertising, when they can pinpoint exactly where you are and what you're doing, they can actually direct an ad to you. So imagine you're in a mall, but you're on the second floor of the mall, not the first floor. They can send a push alert to your phone suggesting a store on that second floor instead of the first one because they know you're there.
Wow, really good information. All right, thanks, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Right? All right. So, you see, you know, we got a low jack put on our heads, right? So you laugh at people who be on house arrest. You see them, they got the little block on their leg. You can't go too far, can't go out the house. But you got one too. They tricked you into that. They done tricked you into that a device that you need. Again, it's always the pros and the cons. It's always a catch-22. It has its good side and its other side. Because otherwise, they call it ma'at. It's balancing, right? So it has a twofold cut to it. It has the purpose that you use it for, but then it also has a purpose for somebody else who needs to know. You know, like they do in the wild, they get certain animals that they say, well, they're going extinct. And so what we do is we're going to put a little device on them. We're going to be able to track, and then we know where they are, and then we can be able to count to see the number. Right. That's what they tell you, right? And they try to make it say, well, advertiser friendly. Well, you know, you could be in the mall, and you know, and then somebody could just be now. Who job is that? Where do you apply for a job like that? Matter of fact, I did see some one time they was talking about to be cyber. I seen a job one time that was advertised on TV. I got that commercial somewhere, but they do advertise, but it's very seldom. You know, if you catch something like that. But the point I'm trying to show is, whether your phone is working or not, it's always computing information and data, getting a profile like fuckbook. You know that shit y'all be on that fuckbook. Now, I ain't saying that YouTube is any better, but you know, you volunteer. You heard that word she used. She said volunteer. Means you give that shit up for free, right? You do it as part of your using the service. Right? You have to give it up. A lot of times you can't make the phone operate if you don't accept it. It's kind of like if you got an Xbox or something like that. You can't play it. Even though you got, you know, internet and all that stuff, but you have to say, I want to be able to allow you to share my information. Right? So, well, it is okay. So some people feel comfortable. Again, if you got nothing to hide, of course, you follow me wherever. Right? But what if it comes to a situation when it's something else? That means you could be tracked. That means, again, like maybe sometimes how people talk about conspiracy, how, let's say, what was his name? Paul, what was his name? The dude that did that movie? How they caught him, and some people say, well, there could have been a missile and all that. Well, if you're tracking somebody following you, there's a point they can see all the direction, and maybe they could just catch your ass by yourself. You understand? I mean, you have to look at it in a lot of ways, right? So anyway, that was a little something about them cell phones. I guess a lot of people kind of know that shit already, but some people you act like you don't know that. But again, it's always occupying, downloading your every movement. No matter how you move, it's tracking it. So if you have no problem with being surveillance like that, or no privacy at all, because again, I have also talked about some of the devices that listen, whether your laptop is listening and all this other shit. So, you know, privacy is something of the past. See, you who are now, you think it's more advanced, but you have less, because there's a time there was a lot less of this surveillance. But now it's more part of just the average daily life. To the fact that people do stuff right in front of it and act like they don't even know it's there. Right? So let's get the foundation going. So, you know, again, as this country has been built, right, it's a continuation of what has started somewhere else, and then it ended coming over here, and then, you know, they have some things, again, as me being a descendant of slaves of this land, you know, everybody seems to think that certain things have always kind of passed over and we're at a better place in life and so forth. In some aspects it could be, and in a lot of aspects it's not. But this here I seen, and then I said, well, you know, there's a history to this, right? There's a real history to this. And so what I'm going to do, let's see if I can get it, see if we're going to play it right, you know how they do. Make it a little hard sometimes for me to get it all. So I ran across this, you know, there's some history to this, you know, and it's some of the most atrocity ass shit that ever happened in history, right? But a lot of people don't like to talk about it. But anyway, there was something that came up, and I seen it, and I said, well, let me present this to y'all, and then we'll talk about it when I get back. Check this out, and then I'll come back. How about that?
For more than a century, this opulent museum outside Brussels was a symbol of Belgium's colonial past. It was created by King Leopold II with wealth amassed from his kingdom's plunder of Congo. Its exhibits portrayed Africans as savage and primitive. Hundreds of Congolese people were put on display in a human zoo, but there was no mention of the fact that millions of people were enslaved or killed by their oppressors.
Until 20 years ago, Belgium didn't have any critical reflection of its colonial past, and nobody really questioned about how did Congolese really perceive it. And if you talk to Congolese of that period, I mean, they all talk about the oppression, about the way they were treated. And so when Belgians visit this museum, they'll start reflecting, well, maybe that colonial system wasn't all that good at all.
King Leopold presented Belgium's colonization of Congo as a humanitarian mission, but that was far from the brutal reality. Congolese artist Aimé Mpane hopes his work will force people to reflect on history.
It is thinking together about the past, the present, and making sure what happened never happens again, and to end stereotypes and decolonize the image of Central Africa.
Pierre Compagnie came to Belgium as a refugee from Congo in 1975. He's now the country's first black mayor. His son Vincent plays for Belgium's national football team. He says the museum could be a cultural bridge.
From now, this museum will be a different color. Both Congo and Belgium will better understand the mistakes made and the future that awaits us.
While those behind the reopening of this museum hope that it will help Belgians confront their colonial past, some critics say it's a missed opportunity, that a greater gesture would have been to return some of the looted artworks and objects to Congo.
These are not mere artworks. For us, they represent our ancestors. So if my ancestors are enclosed in that museum, frozen in time, then they are dead. So I don't want to celebrate in this cemetery. Perhaps I would visit in the future if we start returning the works.
State museums across Europe have come under increasing pressure from campaigners to return objects taken from Africa. They say it would address some past injustices, but also force people in former colonial powers like Belgium to know and confront a history that for too long has been ignored. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Brussels, Belgium.
All right, so the Congo, Leopold, huh? Leopold, huh? Remember when probably you was little, some of you remember when used to have that Bugs Bunny cartoon used to come on? Leopold, huh? I was shaking it and quaking in their boots, I guess so. That was one son of a bitch right there, wasn't he? Huh? That motherfucker was, they talk about Hitler. What? This motherfucker here was no joke, huh? You see the shit and the atrocity he was leaving was chopping people's hands off, right? The atrocity of the history of that probably can't even be written. It was just that bad, right? Just the greed, right? And then everybody wants to now talk about something. Well, we want to make up. We're going to give you back some of your artifacts. Okay, you know. You done made your money off of it now, right? You put it in museums, you done made. What about all the money you done made off of it? What about some of that? Can we get some contributions to that? Right? Okay, no, none of that, huh? No, we just got to give it back as a token of our, we're sad about what we did to you. We're trying to really make some difference, okay? But we know that's a trick. We know that shit is a goddamn trick. So, I mean, let me show you some of the things. Maybe it went a little fast. Maybe it went a little too fast. You know, just imagine this, man. Just imagine that, huh? Motherfuckers cutting your hand off because you ain't getting enough rubber, huh? Them shorties, huh? Them shorties. But we ain't now supposed to talk about this, and you got to compliment because we want to talk about what the atrocities that the head still rears itself. Maybe we don't get it in this fashion, but again, your fangs show. You know what I'm saying? Like Count Dracula talking, and you see that fucking tooth, them fangs hang. You like, oh shit! You see them tooth on that motherfucker? Huh? That's what it is. It's something your teeth is showing at times, right? And we know the history. Yes, as much as you want to assume that you change, and those are somebody else, but goddamn it, these are somebody's relatives. Huh? There was a lot of people who were involved in this, and somehow that blood trickles somewhere because again, this became the melting pot, right? So I'm always like, you know, you trying to blame it? No. I'm just saying this is history, right? We seeing it, right? You see that right before there, and then you seen that picture he posed with, right? You see, let me show you that. Let me show you the little pose he had, right? Like, you know, like he was this motherfucker was acting like he was somebody's nice, huh? Well, I put him in a gold statue. Now, in that, you see right there, this, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. What do you think that picture is probably saying to you? Huh? You, the DOS. Huh? You see the one on his, it would be your left looking at it, right? There's a little brother look like, right? And he got his hand folded, like begging and looking, oh, Master Leopold. And he got his son in his left hand, huh? The preserver, the protector. As long as we keep the niggas at the position begging and looking to me, everything will always be all right. Ain't that what that, can't you read that? Can you not read that? Ain't that what that's saying? Huh? But when does this attitude even leave? When does that even just go away? And who made it go away if it did go away, right? Right? If it went away, who made it go away? Right? But why are you always stoking the flame, Mr. Blows Your Mind? I ain't stoking shit. This is history. It is what it is. That's the problem with this. Nobody wants to confront it, but you want to do tokens of appreciation and sorrow. It's bigger than that. It's much, much bigger than that. Right? Way bigger than that. Right? So I ain't going to leave you alone. I ain't going to go no more than that. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a very fragile situation when you see that, because again, you say, I had nothing to do with that. Maybe you didn't. But it's not like at times you don't swell up in your heart and your spirit to have the same kind of mentality. You may not do the physical aspect of it, but you still kind of emanates the energy and spirit that sometimes we feel it and we be like, what's going on with y'all? Where's the blame? Come on now. That was all in the 1800s. Well, you're making it, oh, really? Okay, as we go on tonight, as I go on, remember the foundation. You know those who come over here, you know how I lay it down. I sets it up, right? They might cut me tonight again as they always do, but you know we got to try to get it out. Now, this story here, now you know a lot of times what our people do. We like to, we like following people, right? Because again, we lost our way, we lost our culture, we forgot who we were, we lost our mind, we lost our tongue, and some of us the way we act, we even lost our minds. You heard that before, right? Right? So, so when you follow certain people, when these people become your all in all, but sometimes you need to see some of the examples that are left, right? And check this out. Let me show this again. I don't do these things to make fun, right? I'm not making fun about nobody about what they go through, because this situation is really not funny. But again, it is what it is. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Then we'll come back. How about that? What we do that? Let me show you this. Let me show you this. Hold on. Check it out. Check this out. Check this out. Check it out.
Witnesses say the 19-year-old woman was walking around here outside the South Main Chapel and Mercy Center. Moments later, she was seen kneeling near these railroad tracks.
It was terrible what I witnessed. It really was.
Inside the church where she works, Elizabeth Hyatt heard someone yelling, "Call 911."
It was across the street, and I could see blood, and I could hear her screaming, and I realized something was wrong. Something was terribly wrong.
Witnesses say the 19-year-old woman used her hands to gouge out an eye, attempting to stop her, but couldn't.
I immediately called 911, and it almost felt like the 911 dispatch didn't even believe me. That's how crazy it was.
When Anderson County deputies and emergency medical crews got to the woman, witnesses say she had gouged out the other eye, holding them in her hands and fighting anyone coming near her. Eventually, the woman was put on a stretcher, flown by medical helicopter to the hospital. Hyatt says she's seen the woman in church for some services and during mealtime, but said the woman wasn't a regular.
Prayer and community and family is what going to get us through this.
Tonight, we are still working on getting an update on the woman's condition. Mandy Gaither, WYFF News 4 in Anderson County.
Woman who gouged her eyes out while high on road to recovery. No, I'm going to say that again. Woman who gouged her eyes out while high on road to recovery. This story was done May 31st, 2018. But I think it was an update. And this is how it reads. 3 months after a South Carolina woman made headlines for gouging her eyes out while in a drug-induced high, she is starting to feel like herself again, she said. Kaylee Hart, 20 of Anderson, South Carolina, told police she was adapting to her new life following the incident. I actually feel like a person. I feel like myself, and I don't feel like I'm chasing something, she said. It actually feels really nice. The way it worked out is the way God had it worked out. That's just the way it is, but I'd rather for it to have happened than to still be stuck in that world. On February 6th, churchgoers in Anderson County were terrified after they witnessed Hart removing her eyeballs. At the time of the incident, she said she was hallucinating from a large dose of meth. Hart recalled that she thought someone had sacrificed something important to the world, and that person was me. I thought everything would end abruptly and everyone would die if I didn't tear out my eyes immediately, she told Cosmopolitan. I don't know how I came to the conclusion, but I felt it was, without doubt, the right rational thing to do immediately. Hart said the man she had been staying with, whom she did not identify but said had a biblical name, was driving by and asked her a question. She said she felt that the encounter was her sign. What happened next has left Hart blind. Warning, details below contain graphic materials. So I pushed my thumb, pointer, and middle finger into each eye. I gripped each eyeball, twisted, and pulled until each eye popped out of the socket. It felt like a massive struggle, the hardest thing I ever had to do, she said, because I could no longer see. I don't know if there was blood, but I know the drugs numb the pain. I'm pretty sure I would have tried to claw right into my brain if a pastor hadn't heard me screaming, I want to see the light, which I don't recall saying, and restrained me. She continued. He later said, when he found me, that I was holding my eyeballs in my hands. I had squished them, although they were somehow still attached to my head. Hart said she went from scoring straight A's in school to doing meth and ecstasy on a regular basis. She said she studied the Bible while high. While on ecstasy, I studied the Bible, Hart said. I misinterpreted a lot of it. I convinced myself that meth would bring me even closer to God. Her mother, Kathy Thompson, tried to intervene and even record a phone conversation between the two of them to get a court order that would force her daughter into a rehab center before the incident. Hart said she underwent emergency to clean her empty orbital sockets, but was now home and recovering. She told people she's about to begin a 3-week rehabilitation course to help her with her mobility skills. She's also scheduled to undergo surgery on July 3rd that will prepare her to have prosthetic eyes. I'm a very optimistic person, and I want to end with an optimistic outlook. But at some point, you're going to fall, Mudhart told people. That's just life. She said she had started learning to play the guitar and piano and had strayed away from drugs. She hopes to attend college and study marine biology. There's definitely something inside of me that wants to say, well, what else can I do now that I'm blind? She said, but something just cries out deep inside of me. Go for your goal. Do what you always wanted to do. Show everybody that you can do it. All right, so we have a young woman out of South Carolina, Anderson, right, Mudhart, got on some drugs, and you know they say them drugs. I mean, remember what Rick James said? Cocaine in the motherfucker, right? Remember he said that, Rick James, cocaine in the motherfucker, right? So here it is. You know, studying the Bible and being in that hallucinated state and hearing voices and, you know, You know, because I know in this country they're having this opioid crisis where mugs is just becoming so addicted to the fact that, again, if you've seen the other show I did the other day, where it's talking about they're actually going to make heroin or opioid prescriptions, right? So the addictions is serious in this country. And you have to ask yourself, why are so many people trying to drug themselves up? What is it that's going on in their minds, hearts, that they can't deal with, that they feel like escapism by doing all this, right? Again, it's not a laughing matter. It's not one of those situations where we just say, hey, what's going on over here? You know, again, the story talked about 74,000 people dying a year, opioids, and the numbers are rising, right? So, you know, it's, you know, you have to say, what kind of demons, right? Again, the inheritable demons, that the atrocity that people have done, whether it not be you per se, but again, if they got to, you know, say live the life of opulency and luxury and everything, eating steak and eggs every day and be able to put their feet on top of a slave or rheumatism, and supposedly that's how to get the rheumatize out of my leg, right? Because I put it on a nigger's belly, right? And all that shit. Then what transfers that you don't get here that they eventually go here, right? Now, I'm not saying whether this person here is that, but I'm just saying, let's just look at it in the entirety of it, of the opioid crisis that's happening in this country. There's a lot of addictions and there's a lot of stuff people, because again, when we was going through the crack, you know, a lot of people were doing stuff because, again, first it was something new, it was something cheap, they didn't understand the addictiveness, it was something new, right? But certain people know with these drugs, and they're always in search of something more stronger, more about horse tranquilizers and all, you know, right? What? I mean, I remember seeing a movie sometime back. It was like trying to get as close to being dead and then come back. You ever seen that movie? I can't think of the name of it. Motherfucker trying to get this right on the edge of dying and then and trying to resuscitate this back. Kind of like that Neil Hogo, right? What he was doing up in Germany, right? He was taking people and then trying to resuscitate them back to see live, you know, doing it and trying to impress his friends, right? Like, you're trying to get to the edge right there to see, trying to peek in what it's like to come back, right? Because again, you know what I'm saying? We understand. That's a hell of a heritage. Because, I mean, you know, black life ain't easy. You know, as much as everybody want to look and say what they're not doing, and you know, and everybody step over the fact that anytime situations, whether they try to take their purpose and make it step over, but nobody will, you guys always complain. That's over with, right? But, you know what I'm saying? But there's something happening here, y'all. There is something happening. Even though nobody want to really address it. So let's move on. Because you know I'm setting the foundation, right? You know how I do it. So that was just Kelly Mudhart, right? So I seen this story here, and I thought about this. I said, well, you know, again, You gotta look at it like this. Again, you don't like to really talk about race. I know the elephant in the room nobody wants to address because they say, we're over that. And you're just trying to, I didn't create it. I didn't create this. It was here before I got here and it'll be here when I leave here until it really gets resolved, right? But, as, a person who's in media, right, and I try to just be, an advocate for just reporting news. But I got, I know history and stuff like that. So I will interject it when it's necessary. But in this case here, this story came out and I thought about it. I said, damn, boy, if we don't look at this shit, and, we look at one aspect, which I'll touch tonight, but this aspect here, I was like, you don't think about this kind of shit. You don't think about this. Well, what are you talking about, Mr. Blummer? Check this out, y'all. Check it out. Be right back.
Alex McNabb is a white supremacist podcaster. He also works as an emergency medical technician in Southern Virginia. HuffPost reports that McNabb is under investigation by the state's Department of Health. The 35-year-old is a frequent co-host of The Daily Show. On the popular neo-Nazi podcast, he regularly tells stories about being an EMT. He often refers to patients by racist slurs, comparing black patients to animals. An anonymous complaint was made on November 26th against McNabb. His continued employment as an EMT raises ethical and legal questions about whether an avowed racist and white nationalist can objectively make life-and-death decisions for patients of color, Jewish patients, and other minorities.
A prominent white supremacist is an EMT in Virginia. Now the state is investigating him. You know I'm going to say that again. A prominent white supremacist is an EMT in Virginia. Now the state is investigating him. Alex McNabb, the host of a popular neo-Nazi podcast, regularly compares black patients to animals. This was done in the Huffington Post. December, looks like it could be the 6th, 2018. And this is how it reads. It says, Alex McNabb, a white supremacist podcaster who works as an emergency medical technician in Southern Virginia, is under investigation by the State Department of Health. A spokesperson for the department confirmed to HuffPost. McNabb, 35, is a frequent co-host of The Daily Show, a popular neo-Nazi podcast. On the show, he regularly tells stories about being an EMT, often referring to patients by racist slurs and comparing black patients to animals. An anonymous complaint was made on November 26 against McNabb, who works as an EMT in Patrick County, according to Marion Hunter, Public Relations Coordinator for the Virginia Department of Health Office of Emergency Medical Services. Because it's an open and active investigation, Hunter did not describe the nature of the complaint. He continued employment as an EMT, however, raises ethical and legal questions about whether an avowed racist and white nationalist can objectively make life and death decisions for patients of color, Jewish patients, and other minorities, experts say. Anyone who is espousing this type of vitriolic racism on a regular basis, it casts serious doubts on their ability to provide emergency medical treatment for someone who does not fit their criteria for an ethno state. Keegan Hanks, senior researcher at the Southern Poverty Law Center, told The Huff. McNabb has been charged with a crime and will not be suspended from his job during the state's investigation, which could last up to 60 days. McNabb didn't respond to a HuffPost request Friday for comment about the investigation. In a recurring segment on The Daily Show, McNabb assumes a persona he calls Dr. Narcan. In these segments, he tells his co-host stories about being an EMT. He regularly refers to black patients as Dindus, a deeply racist slur common among the alt-right. During the November 8, 2016 episode, McNabb compared black patients to animals. The heat brings out the wow in the dindu. He said, adding that as winter approaches, the animal goes into hibernation and the ridiculousness of the 911 calls goes down. In an October 4, 2016 episode, during a Dr. Narcan segment, McNabb referenced an apartment complex that houses people from all over Africa and West Africa. He said emergency workers called it Ebola Alley. He then called a black woman a Dindushua and compared her as a shaved Harambe, referring to the famous gorilla. It's hard to find a Dindu vein anyway because they're black, he said during the episode. He then told another story of an unruly young African-American male child running around an emergency room. As it turned out, this young African-American male was there to get blood drawn. So guess who volunteered to take his blood? He told his co-host, who laughed in response. Dr. Narcan enjoyed great immense satisfaction as he terrorized his youngest with a needle and stabbed him thusly in aim with a large gauge IV catheter. Vicky Greendraw, pediatric hematology coordinator at Tufts Medical Center, told the HuffPost she was appalled at McNabb's story. Medical professionals, she said, should never ever use large gauge needles on a pediatric patient. Typically, only small gauge needles are used for children. Large gauge needles, Grinjaw said, tends to hurt because the needle is large and it bruises the pediatric patient. In a statement sent to the HuffPost over Twitter, McNabb wrote that Dr. Narcan is a work of fiction. On the November 30th episode, The Daily Show, McNabb said he didn't treat patients differently based on their ethnicity or religion. It's a professional duty, he said. You have a fucking duty to go out there and give 100% on every single call. Doesn't matter what race or color or what situation it is. He added, I mean, no one's going to do something to put their job in jeopardy or do something that makes them look like an incompetent asshole. McNabb, who attended the deadly white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017, has appeared on over 130 episodes of The Daily Shoah. Shoah is a Hebrew word for calamity and is used most commonly to refer to the Holocaust. According to research from Megan Squire, a computer science professor at Elon University who studies the far right, titles of these episodes include JEWS, Always Lie, Are You Ready for Some Race War, and Black Alert, Black Alert. He appears on many episodes along prominent neo-Nazi figures, some of whom have openly called for exterminating Jews and blacks. Among these quests were Andrew Anglin, Christopher Cantwell, and Richard Spencer. In an article on the neo-Confederate website Identity, Dixie McNabb wrote that he would certainly never complain if 911 calls from crackheads and morbidly obese niggers had to be picked up by black EMTs. McNabb is an administrator of a Facebook group called The Final Solution to the Optics Problem, which feature a Nazi flag as its banner image. The Final Solution is a reference to the Nazi plan to exterminate the Jews during World War II. The Optics Problem refers to an ongoing debate in alt-right circles on how best to expand their movement. McNabb also writes many blog posts on the Right Stuff as alt-right website in which he expresses vitriol against blacks, Jews, obese people, and the queer community. The website Angry White Men, which monitors white supremacist figures, first reported on McNabb's position as an EMT earlier this year. McNabb, who unlike many in the white nationalist community, does not use an alias, made posts on social media showing himself in an EMT uniform. Last week, McNabb posted to Twitter that he was aware of HuffPost's investigation into his work as an EMT. He also suggests HuffPost lodged the anonymous complaint with the Virginia Department of Health. HuffPost did not file a complaint. Alex McNabb, to my knowledge, is a paid employee with Jeb Stewart Volunteer Rescue. Stephen Allen, Patrick County Emergency Service Coordinator, told HuffPost. EMT services is in Gibbon County, often includes a mix of volunteer and paid employees. HuffPost found no direct evidence that McNabb treated patients differently due to their race, religion, or sexual orientation. Robert Vitak, professor of Emeritus of Medical Ethics of Georgetown University, told the HuffPost that it's only ethical to employ McNabb if it can be ensured that he doesn't act on his political beliefs. Even if one holds that white supremacist has the right to his views, he does not have the right to act on them while in a public role such as an EMT, he said. Medical professionals on a battlefield, Beach noted, are supposed to care for all casualties without regards to personal characteristics, such as loyalty to an enemy. Still, Jeb Stewart Volunteer Rescue would likely be within its legal rights to fire him. J.H. Burkhart, Director of the Program for Employment and Labor Law Studies at the University of Washington School of Law, said the First Amendment in a situation like this, while protective of a person's hateful speech, doesn't necessarily protect that person's job. Racist comments about patients, Ricky said, would give both public and private medical employees a pretty strong argument that those statements signal problems with care and reveals attitudes that are inconsistent with his duties of caring for patients properly. An employer, Verrecki said, could also argue that a medical professional hateful statement could be viewed as disruptive to the workplace. The captain of the Jeb Stewart Volunteer Rescue, Derek Wagner, did not return repeated requests for comment regarding McNabb's employment. In a blog post, McNabb claimed that his captain, after discussion with the lawyer representing their agency, did not see any reason to take action against me.
Thousands of women around the world suffer from something called uterine factor infertility. They're infertile because they were either born without a uterus, or they had to have it removed, or for some reason their uterus isn't working properly. These women can't become pregnant. Even fertility treatments such as in vitro fertilization won't help them. Since 2012, doctors in Sweden have performed 9 uterus transplants. 4 of them received a uterus from their own mothers. 1 received a uterus from her sister, another from an aunt, and another from a friend. 2 of the transplants didn't work out, but 7 did, resulting so far in at least 5 pregnancies. This is Vincent. He was the first baby to be born from one of these uterine transplants. In the United States, the Cleveland Clinic says that in the next few months, they're going to start uterine transplants too. They're looking for 10 women between the ages of 21 and 39. Doctors will use the women's own eggs, which will then be fertilized in a lab. Now, the women won't get a uterus from a relative or a friend. Instead, they'll get it from someone who's passed away. Now, after the woman has had 1 or 2 babies, they'll remove the uterus from her. Now, the reason for that is that while the uterus is in her body, she has to take anti-rejection pills. Those pills can sometimes be dangerous, and so they want to have that uterus inside her for as short a time as possible.
Meet Vincent, a medical first, born to a 36-year-old woman in Sweden who received a womb transplant. A womb transplant? The mother, who wishes to remain anonymous, has healthy ovaries, but was told at 15 she was born with no uterus, a syndrome seen in one girl in 4,500, and would never carry her own children. But last year, a close family friend agreed to assist in the experimental procedure and donated her uterus. About 6 weeks after the transplant, Vincent's mother got her menstrual period, a sign the womb was healthy. After 1 year, when doctors were confident the womb was working well, they transferred a single embryo created in a lab dish using the woman's eggs and her husband's sperm.
Yeah, made history. For us, it feels like we are normal parents with a newborn baby. Lots of happiness and love.
Is this the first time this has been tried? No. Doctors have transplanted wombs into 9 women over the last 2 years as part of a study, but complications forced removal of 2 of the organs. Vincent, whose name means to conquer, was the doctor's first success.
We have found a treatment for thousands of women who cannot become mothers at this stage.
So, will this be available to women soon? 7 other women are now undergoing the procedure, and doctors say 2 other pregnancies are at least 25 weeks along. But the procedure remains very complicated and risky, meaning it isn't likely to become common soon. That's the short answer.
For the first time in the U.S., a woman has given birth with a transplanted uterus. A baby boy was delivered at Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas to a woman who received a uterus from a living donor. It was part of a clinical trial. 8 other babies have been born to women with transplants, all in Sweden. Tens of thousands of women in this country might be candidates for this surgery, and our Tara Narula is with us. Such exciting news and hopeful for so many families, mothers, would-be mothers in particular, who suffer and are hoping to have babies. How does this actually work?
Right, so it's fascinating, and you know, the lead researcher called it a beautiful moment of love and hope, and essentially it's several phases that occur. So first, a woman who wants to have a baby in this way would take the eggs, they would be removed, fertilized, and those embryos would be frozen, similar to the process that happens in IVF. The woman would then receive a transplanted uterus from either a living donor or someone who had been deceased. She would then be started on anti-rejection drugs or immunosuppressant drugs so that she doesn't reject the new uterus, then be followed. If she begins to have a menstrual cycle, several months later, they could implant those embryos, and if she becomes pregnant, then they follow through the pregnancy with the care of high-risk OBGYNs, and she's ultimately delivered via C-section.
Wow, but the transplanted uterus is not permanent.
It's not, and that's unique to really this particular type of transplant. It's meant to be temporary, to allow her to have 1 or at most 2 children, at which point the uterus is then removed, so she doesn't have to stay on those immunosuppressant drugs, which come with risks like cancers, infections, and toxicity.
We don't know the identity of the woman who had the baby, but we do know that the donor was a 36-year-old nurse, which I think is just such a great story.
Who had her own 2 kids.
Who had her own. So who would be eligible for this type of transplant?
Right, so the majority of women are those that have something called uterine infertility, essentially that infertility factor, where they're either born with or don't have an existing uterus, or the uterus becomes non-functional. So most of the conditions occur in about 1 out of 4,000 women where they're not born with the uterus. However, there are women that this could help up to 50,000 who, for example, had a hysterectomy for things like endometriosis, fibroids, cancer cancers that affect the cervix or uterus, and also a postpartum hemorrhage or obstetrical complications from their initial childbirth.
As promising as this is, it is a serious procedure. What are some of the side effects and the dangers?
Right. So for the donor, certainly this is a surgery. It's more complicated than a regular hysterectomy, so the surgery takes longer. They have to tease out those blood vessels, which is complex. And for the recipient, she's also now having two surgeries, the implantation and the explantation of the uterus. She started on those immunosuppressant drugs. So there are definitely side effects. But, you know, some of the people say, why not just surrogacy or adoption? But there are definitely women where that's limited by ethical, religious, cultural, or legal constraints. So this is a remarkable step.
50 years since the first heart transplant. It's time for a uterine transplant to work.
And transplants that improve quality of life, not just life-saving. We've seen it with face transplants.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is a gift to be able to deliver your baby. That's wonderful. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Tara. Good to see you.
This healthy baby came out of a dead person's uterus? You know I'm going to say that again. This healthy baby came out of a dead person's uterus? This story was done December 5th, 2018. It could open up uterine transplants to a lot more people. The story was done in Popular Science. This is how it reads. Baby born uterus transplant. Baby surrounded by the surgical team who helped bring her into the world. In a world first, a woman with a transplanted uterus from a deceased donor has given birth to a healthy baby girl. That may sound like something of a technicality. Babies have been born before using uterus from living donors, but it's actually much more important than that. Uterine transplants are fairly new, and until now, you didn't just need a surgeon willing and able to do the procedure. You generally had to know someone who was willing to give up their uterus. A family member or a friend, provided they were a good match in terms of blood type, would undergo a voluntary hysterectomy in one operating room, and surgeons would literally carry the organ into the next room to transplant it into a recipient. Since 2014, when a group of Sweden reported the first born from a live transplant, 11 more patients have also given birth. The ability to source organs from deceased donors would increase availability and lower the net risk of such a procedure. But no one was really sure how long a uterus could go disconnected from a blood supply before it would be unviable. There have been at least 3 operations to implant a deceased donor uterus in lieu of a living donation, all of which had either failed due to infection or simply failed to produce any live births. The latest case study published in the journal The Lancet proves that such a procedure is indeed possible. It opens up many more opportunities for individuals without uteruses, or with uteruses that are incapable of giving or carrying a child to term, to give one and become pregnant. Around 1.5 million women worldwide don't have a uterus, which can be the case for varieties of reasons. Some are born without one because of a congenital condition. The woman in this case study has Mayer-Rokitansky-Cushing syndrome. Others require hysterectomies due to disease or have organ damage by infections or trauma. The procedure also offers hope to transgender and non-binary individuals born without uteruses who wish to carry their own pregnancies, though it has not publicly been conducted on any such patients as of yet. Until now, potential recipients had to ask a loved one to undergo a 4 to 6 hour surgery plus weeks of recovery time to give up one of their organs forever. And it would generally be so that the recipient could become pregnant, use the uterus, and then get rid of it. Uterus transplants aren't considered permanent. They're removed after the patient gives birth, sometimes right after the C-section, to limit the unnecessary risk of a life-threatening immune response. That's a lot to ask of a donor when adoption and surrogacies are alternatives for most uterine transplant candidates. Now, there are many more possibilities, though still many limitations. Deceased organ donors must have uteruses entirely free of HPV or any uterine disease, and they must have borne a child before. Imagine if doctors transplant a uterus only to find that it was unable to carry pregnancy anyway. This uterus is particularly with 8 hours without a blood supply between the time the donor passed away from a brain hemorrhage and the time the organ got to the patient. That proves there is a window of leniency in which doctors can try to match a recently deceased donor to a potential patient. The surgery took place on then a 32-year-old woman in Sao Paulo, Brazil, back in September 2016. Since she still had intact ovaries, she was able to undergo fertility treatments in order to harvest her eggs, which were later transferred back into her once she had recovered from the transplant operation. She gave birth nearly a year ago on December 15, 2017. At the time of writing the paper, the surgeons reported the baby was a healthy 7-month-old with an equally healthy mother. Now, you know they be trying to knock me out, right? That's why you didn't hear me right after the EMT, because they went and they tried to cut my mic out once again. The most hated show in the black corner of the internet. You think I be making that up? Y'all think I be making that up, huh? They do it every time. But see, the creator say he knows how to, he put me back in, right? You hear me talking, right? But that's what they do, right? So anyway, so I go back to the EMT story. So again, you had the story talking about, again, the nationalists, again. You know, most people are self-preservation about their nation of people. Commendable. I ain't got no problem against that, right? You're trying to preserve that which is you and yours, and that's fine. And the same goes for other people. This problem is other people interfere and keep you from doing when you're dealing with your own, right? But when you look at that as a nationalistic, movement or agenda, and then you look at some of the places they strategically are putting themselves in, think about that. Somebody who, again, if you look at some of the ideologies and some of the things that he talks about and he advocates for, this is an individual you had to trust your life if you had to call an emergency, and he's the EMT, right? So there's something unethical about that, for the simple fact that, again, no one can read nobody's mind, at least not yet. They're working on that shit, right? We know they're working on it, right? That's what all this data collecting and trying to make everything about AI is about, right? So here's a person that, again, your stance could be commendable. Again, every person for nation is about self-preservation. I understand this melting pot, but it seems like the only people who wants to be, everybody seems like to be the most trodden down people. The people who are oppressed, the people who are disenfranchised, the people who seem to be out the loop, and only unless you got something to, make, whether you could be a part of it or not. If you just poor and you black, well, shit, we ain't got nothing for you, right? So need not apply, right? So we know police, we know judges, we done have presidents, you understand? So, that's kind of something to think about, right? I remember back in the day, they had a episode of the Who Seen All in the Family. They remember Archie Bunker. They used to play that back in the day. When talking about when you're being real. Today, everything want to be politically correct. They don't want you to say what really it is, because otherwise people are so sensitive, right? They're so sensitive and mollycoddle that if you say the wrong thing, oh, it's foul. It's a foul. They're doing everything, but don't say nothing, right? They're fragile, but don't say nothing, but they're doing everything, right? That kind of shit, right? So I remember one time was an episode where he had to go to the hospital. And, Archie Bunker, if you know that, he was considered a nationalist, right? And so he goes to the hospital, and then they kind of find that his doctor was black, right? He didn't want the doctor dealing with him because he said because he was black, right? Like, no thanks. Can I get a white doctor? You know what I'm saying? He didn't trust that, right? Even though people of color, even if they had that, they still do what they do. A lot of them don't even have that anymore, right? A lot of them don't even have that in regards to everything that's being done. A lot of them don't even have that kind of mindset, no heart, because they're willing, complicit, forgiving, turn the other cheek, give you the other one. You went in my right pocket, I give you my left. You know what I'm saying? Hey, people is no threat to you, but you're still, this bully that just want to keep on doing it. And so the position of being an EMT, being a doctor, being a nurse, Hogel's dude in Germany when he was doing, again, they in positions that sometimes you ain't thinking about. Shit, what about distributing, making your food, the water, So they was like, well, we can't really prove, and based on our policy, and it's like, in war, even if it's your enemy, you're supposed to still go ahead and take care of them regardless of how you feel. But how can somebody tell whether you giving me the best, care of your knowledge? The other day when I did the story about the sister, remember the brother that had to make the decision whether to save his wife? If he saved his wife, he would lose the child. And if he go for the child, it's possible he could save the child and maybe the mother. But he end up losing his wife, right? How do we know? Huh? How do we know that's really what took place? Again, you have to question some of this stuff. I'm not saying that all, I'm going to do like just be, not all of them. I'm just going to say, but how do you know if one should be and they're hiding behind and doing it? How do you discern it? And the policy can only be after the fact. It's kind of like calling the police. They come after the fact. They don't be there when it's happening. You call them after all the shit done took place, right? So I was just wondering, like, damn, EMT, huh? Wow. And then some of the stuff he was saying, black people are animals, and going down to Ebola Alley, and all this stereotypical shit that again is attributed. Like I said, we started off with the show, but we said Congo, right, and Leopold and all that shit, right? That whole thought mindset still has continued on to this day. Maybe not doing it so much direct, but I think sometimes that most indirect, that clandestine, right, that Cold War shit, right, is just as dangerous as anything else, right? So then the next part was showing you about uterus, right? I don't think, see, again, I done keep telling you, black folks like rootin' to the tootin'. We like the pig. They gonna take everything they can get. Because again, you remember I made the video about white extinction. Not because we was praising saying that down, we're saying that what they was having problems copulating and propagating and producing life. So, they're trying to do all kinds of things with in vitro, right? They're having problems. They find out that a lot of women, the uteruses, now they done did some research to find out that they can get a dead person's uterus and it can still work. So what is that telling y'all? What is that telling you? Possibility, huh? See? Again, that sister Harriet Washington made a book, right? To medical apartheid. You ain't never read that. I suggest you go get that book. Harriet Washington's Medical Apartheid. And see the history of how the AMA, American Medical Association, did his research from, right? So, if I'm just looking at it from this way, well, if a certain, let's say, persuasion of people and the women is having a hard time procreating And, you know, there's a lot of things, internal stuff, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff medically you got to do. But if I can get the uterus from somebody else and then, you know, transfer it, and then after I had a baby, I could throw it out. But did you catch the one aspect in that story? And I said, oh my God. Did you hear they say transgender can use that? Did y'all hear that? Again, I'm going to talk about the Kevin Hart situation, right? Again, to each his own. Your life is yours. You choose and do what you got to do. But I'm saying, huh? Oh. So they setting that up. Remember they did that story that one time they were showing supposedly been a man that had a baby but really was a woman. They end up, you know, turned himself into a man, but they made it seem like a man was having a baby. Well, I guess this science is going to try to go ahead and really do it this time. They're going to actually put they getting the game together so they can put the uterus in a transgender who's turned itself, huh? Tell you, huh? All right. Let me move on. Let me look and see who all out here before they cut the mic again. I got a couple in the house. All right, I like seeing that. At the 1:30 mark, let's see who all in the house. I got a whole bunch of company out here. Digitus King in the house was good. Fella Kuti 360, rock on, huh? Oh shit, rock on, huh? Okay, I'm wondering who in here, right? What's good though, y'all? All right. So, what else I got going in here? Let's get back into the theme. Now, again, like I said, you know, some people will be saying, and one brother say, oh, no. I just present what's out here. I don't make nothing up. It's fact. You see it right before your eyes. I just read it for where it get it from. I got my opinion about certain aspects, but again, they say everybody got an asshole, so everybody got an opinion, right? So I'll do that. Now, again, as we going on this theme, again, about this, hey, there's some kind of this thing that is stuck in the craw. People that always keep the rear's head, even though people want to try to pretend that we're getting away from it, right? So here's a story. Here is a story. Let's see. Should I do that first? Let's see. All right, well, how about this? I got a story for you. And I don't have no video for this one. I just got a story. And then, again, as we're on the theme, right, as I'm on the theme right now about, you know, using uterus as a you know, alternative for people who, again, you know, sometimes people born, they don't have certain things. I get that. And this is the alternative. And then there's the other aspect of science because, again, you know, when people having problems, I get that too. But look at this mindset here. Check this mindset out. There was this mindset here, right? And, you know, again, as this country is, it's kind of like one of those, you know, you can do what you feel, right? It's the Kates, right? The Kates. So a man think it, so a man is, right? Well, check this out. How about this? Check this out. Minnesota professor, Mary did not consent to God impregnating her with Jesus. You know I'm going to say that again. Minnesota professor, Mary did not consent to God impregnating her with Jesus. This story was done December 7, 2018. And this is how this reads. Is this Minnesota professor just pulling our leg, or is he serious? Minnesota State University Mankato psychology professor and sex therapist Dr. Eric Spankel suggests in a couple of tweets that Mary, the mother of Jesus, was raped by God because she couldn't possibly have given her consent. Does he really believe this? Probably not. He is making a point about the power dynamics in sexual relationship, an offensive, idiotic, and deliberately provocative point. It's easy for him because he is apparently a Satanist. Sprinkle is public with his anti-religious views, endorses secularism in his Twitter biography. Early in December, he tweeted a photo of a toy Christmas elf with his arms around a statue of what appears to be a Baphomet, an occulted depiction of an entity regularly associated with Satanism, according to the Church of Satan. Spanko also decorated his Christmas tree with satanic decor, as shown in another tweet he sent this past weekend. This is so offensive that I wonder why Twitter hasn't suspended this guy's account, but you see, it's offensive only to people of faith, and the wrong faith at that. Since being a Christian is offensive and of itself to people like Sprinkle, it's entirely acceptable to outrage Christians. It certainly is a novel take on the virgin birth. In fact, the whole point of the virgin birth is that Mary didn't have sex to begin with. So Sprinkle's ridiculous construct that Mary didn't give her consent is loony. No sex, no need for consent. But then, how controversial would that be? If the goal is to get a rise out of the right and achieve notoriety on Twitter while being named a hero in the faculty lounge, then Spanko hit a home run. All right. So here was a professor from Minnesota who said, you know what? You know how this movement going around with Me Too and all this stuff going around? He said, shit, well, we might as well put that on God. Huh? God was a rapist. God snuck him some on Mary without her consent. So he's putting that title on God. Huh? Ain't that something, man? I mean, man, I guess, I you know, if you look at the scenario there, I guess you could say that, right? If you, again, but we know damn well, again, you know, people who follow that, they actually believe that. They say, well, God impregnated. Well, is that possible? Is that on what we know through your existence of life? Can a woman, we ain't going to talk about what they say historically, going back to a time where a woman could ovulate with the energies rays of the sun, and then it somehow it ovulate the egg, and she can have a child without the penetration of a man, right? From our knowledge of what we are of the modern, right? From 500 AD up, they call it the modern part of history, right? So from 500 AD up, we have never heard woman able having to have a child without, sexual relations. But just the thought that he even came with that, is just wild and just wild in that. But again, look where we at. Look at all the things of wildness. Again, like I said, the inhabitants of devils all over. There's all kinds of shit going on in this place. From the lowest low to the highest high. It all exists. So everything is within the confines of this game. Your thoughts, again, as the cart that so man thinking so man is. So that's how he thinking shit. He believe it. But we saying, man, damn, boy. I don't think our people be thinking like that. Huh? We would never put that kind of onus, because again, some people say we spooky, right? Yeah, spooky, man. Yeah, right? Well, again, you got to remember our first education, being oppressed, being the descendants of slaves in this land. First education we got was that book. So if you get some of that old-fangled shit that they was giving you, and you're going through the toil and the hardship and the pain and the anguish, anything that could give you some comfort of mind, like going back to the story about that individual, that girl, what was her name? Hart, taking the drugs to deal with her situation? Well, guess what? The Bible became like drugs to black people. It gave them like a pacifier soothing the baby, right? It gave them some comfort in knowing that, you know, there was a possibility that this could be true. It had to become real. Otherwise, how did you get through the ordeal? So we would never play with anything with that. We wouldn't even play with that. Whether you wholeheartedly believe in the story. See, some people may not believe in the story, but they know that there's something beyond this. This ain't all by, the Prometheus, one drop and then, how they go, all that. They don't believe in all that. We know that there's something beyond this, intelligence and existence, or something, right? So, again, I mean, you playing with people's emotion, those people who are sensitive to that, and that's what their whole thing is. That when you're playing with them and saying that, that's something, again, is kind of out of bounds. Leave that. You don't play with that. But he did, and so I called it. And again, look at the thing. Of course, certain people can play with that. If you do some of the things that we have seen in history, and some of the things that are still kind of the continuation of it, you best believe, you better hope there ain't nothing beyond this. You best believe in your heart, mind, or whatever that is. You better believe, you better hope that nothing exists. Because it won't be good. You know it won't be good. You can't, I ain't going to get to that, but we're going to keep going. But I'm just saying, right? So that was something that's a professor. Now he's teaching other people. A professor, right, has the power to influence his mind on those impressionable that he teach, right? But again, it was hypothetical. Well, a hypothetical thing. Yeah, he didn't mean it. It's up to your interpretation. But again, they're not getting rid of his ass either, right? He's keeping his tenure over there, right? All right. So what else I got in the bag for you? Since we're on that theme, right? So, it's around that, again, since I'm talking about, you're talking about how Jesus was created and that Mary got raped by God, right? So, they're going the same thing, how, people, certain people will just, situations, and they see opportunity and they're going to infuse something, whether it be right or wrong. People got that two sides to them, right? They got two faces. They got the, right? They say the PR person and then the real person, right? The PR person, right? And then that PR, and then that real person, right? So it was two people who works in the, let's say, the capacity of their profession as municipality, the municipal officers. And look what the shit they did. Let's check this out. Let me show you this and come back.
We learned that 2 Minneapolis police officers are on paid leave for allegedly decorating a Christmas tree at the 4th Precinct with a bunch of items that are viewed as racist. We have not been able to determine the authenticity or origin of this picture, but you can see it shows a tree decorated with menthol cigarettes, crime tape, malt liquor, Takis, and a cup from Popeye's Chicken. The situation adds insult to injury for a community already working to repair a fractured relationship with police. And tonight, both community activists and city leaders say more work needs to be done. Danny Spiewak is live outside the 4th Precinct with their responses. Danny?
Well, Julie, the photo from this 4th Precinct first surfaced early this morning on both Facebook and on Twitter. And within hours, the NAACP chapter here, as well as a group of other community activists, were calling and demanding action from both the city of Minneapolis and the police department. And we've learned tonight 2 officers have been pulled off duty, still being paid, though, while an investigation continues.
Yeah, it's racist. There's no other way to look at it.
I believe that these decorations were an attack on the black community.
This is nothing new. It's just getting exposed.
To the African American community, the message coming from this Christmas tree is unmistakable.
In essence, they're calling us trash.
They say they're especially disheartened to see this on display in their own police department's building.
It's supposed to serve us and protect us, but instead they oppress.
In response to the photo, a group of activists are demanding the department fire officers responsible. They're also calling for sensitivity training and for more community involvement in the 4th Precinct.
I don't blame them one bit for frustration and pain.
Mayor Jacob Fry said early in the day that whoever did it should be fired, but later acknowledged there's a process that needs to be followed. Chief Medaria Arredondo immediately started that process, launching an investigation and saying he was ashamed and appalled at what happened. In a statement, the chief said, "The culture of the Minneapolis Police Department has undergone positive change. However, as this recent incident shows, we still have much work ahead."
It does set us back with people of color.
Michael Friesleben was once in charge of the 4th Precinct before he retired last year. He says the Christmas display undermines the department's mission to repair relationships.
It's sad because it's so senseless, and there's so many efforts to connect with the community and gain trust.
I mean, whatever little bit that they had done so far, the members of the community that thought they could trust the police department now see that they can't.
It has to stop, and we ain't going nowhere until it does.
The tree has been removed here at the 4th Precinct, and just to be crystal clear, the 2 officers have not been fired. They were placed on leave, taken off duty, and still being paid during an investigation that has a lot of layers to it. Internal Affairs is involved, so there's no timetable for when that investigation will wrap up. And I'll point out, too, we did reach out to the police union and did not get a response tonight. Julie, back to you.
I think senseless is a perfect way to describe it. Thank you, Danny.
Minneapolis police decorated Christmas tree with racial stereotypes in majority black neighborhood. You know I'm going to say that again. Minneapolis police decorated Christmas tree with racial stereotypes in majority black neighborhood. This story was done December 3rd, 2018. This is how it reads. It looked as though a couple police officers went dumpster diving for ornaments. Hanging from the Christmas tree inside the Minneapolis Police Department precinct were half-crushed cans of Steel Reserve malt liquor, crump bags of Takis chips and Funyuns. There was a cup from the fried chicken joint, Popeyes, and 2 packs of Newport cigarettes. Pieces of actual garbage are sent by a single strip of yellow crime scene tape that didn't quite cut it as tinsel. If the police thought the scene was a joke, nobody was laughing. These pieces of trash were deliberately chosen to represent how certain officers feel about the community they serve, that black people are a stereotype to be mocked, and the lives of those they serve may as well be reduced to trash in the gutter. Councilman Philip Cunningham, who represents constituents in the majority black near North neighborhood where the MPD's 4th precinct is located. The 2 Minneapolis police officers who created the display were placed on leave Friday in response to fierce backlash from both the African American community and public officials, including Mayor Jacob Fry, who described the tree as racist, despicable, and well beneath the standards of any person who serves the city of Minneapolis. The tree, beyond being seen as a racist dog whistle, as longtime civil rights activist Ron Edwards described it, also rekindled simmering distrust between police and the black community in Minneapolis. 3 years ago, community organizers led an 18-day occupation outside the 4th Precinct Station to protest the fatal shooting of Jamar Clark, a 24-year-old black man. Since then, activists said at his news conference Friday they had hoped police would be doing everything possible to improve their relationship with the near North Minneapolis community, rather than seemingly to go out of their way to strain it. I just could not believe that after everything we've been through to try to change the narrative about the African American community, that our police officers still held the same mindset. Black Lives Matter Twin City activists Chantel Allen, said at the news conference they have no respect for the lives that have been lost. Cunningham and Minneapolis Board of Education member Carrie Jo Felder were among the first public officials to sound off about the tree after hearing complaints and seeing photos flood social media. Cunningham said Friday on Facebook that he learned from speaking with the MPD inspector that every year an officer is assigned tree decorating duties. This year, Cunningham said 2 officers decided to hang the inappropriate ornaments as a prank. They hurt every gain made improving community police relations, Cunningham wrote on Facebook. On a personal level, despite being a council member, I am still a black man myself, and these outrageous reminders only further my own feelings of being generally unsafe around police officers. At first, Frey was so incensed that he vowed the officer responsible would be fired by the end of the day. Terminations, he wrote, is necessary, both to discipline the officer and to send a clear message. Minneapolis Police Chief Madeira Arredondo and I will not tolerate conduct that departs from our values, but within hours, Frey walked back to the statement after realizing there is a legal requirement process that must be followed before an officer can be discharged. His spokesman, Michael Vakovic, told the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Arredondo, describing the Christmas tree as a racially insensitive display, said in a statement that he was ashamed and appalled by the behaviors of the 2 officers involved. He said a full investigation had been launched. Edwards, the civil rights activist who has lived in Minneapolis since the 1940s, told the Washington Post that what the community needs to see is a black officer in charge of the 4th precinct. Racial insensitivity training, he said, will only do so much. As for those who question what was so racially insensitive about the bag of Takis and the fried chicken fast food cup, Edwards said those who live in the neighborhood didn't need to ask. These policemen are well familiar with what racism is, he said. They knew exactly what they were doing when they decorated the tree. Right? Look, you have some damn fun. Right? Don't, again, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a white joke, right? Yes, that shit is fucked up, right? It's fucked up. We don't lie about this shit. That was fucked up. I'm gonna put a motherfucking Popeye cup and shit up there, some Funyun ring bag and shit. Matter of fact, the hot Funyun ring. He ain't put the regular motherfucker in there. He had the hot Funyun ring. Then the motherfucker gonna put the tinsel around the motherfucker. Got a steel can of 40, and the motherfucker got the tape. The dead man tape around the shit. Yeah, that's fucked up. It's fucked up. You understand? But I know some motherfuckers chuckling all that shit because that's what they think. That's the kind of little shit they do. And again, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you should have the conversation with a motherfucker like that. There's a part where you can, 2 people who got their stance, you can have those kind of conversations out in fun. Right? You should have just stood there. Right? But, people are very sensitive, man, especially because they had a situation over there with a brother that got killed back in, was it Jamal? Oh, man, I forgot the brother's last name. I don't mean to be doing that. But the brother got killed, right? The situation was about where he was at a party and his girlfriend and a girlfriend got into a fight and ended up getting outside. Somebody kind of got, hurt a little bit, and they ended up calling the ambulance. So I think it was his girlfriend. So he was trying to get in the ambulance. And he already had kind of a background, because if you go look up his, what took place, you'll see that everything they're going to talk about is about his background, which, again, that's how you kind of know when police be doing fuck shit. They always want to bring your past. Again, again, everybody gonna have some kind of shit. Some people's shit is worse than others. Some people just done did a lot of shit. But that sometimes, again, depending on when you did it when you was younger, then you done grew, you done mature. You ain't the same person, but yet motherfucker want to throw shit back in you, right? But see, when we, as the DOS of this nation, start talking about the history, everybody, no, forget about it, get over it, right? Get over that shit. Why you keep holding on to that? But when it comes to this kind of shit, they always want to dredge up your fucking past. So they were just showing that, you know, he had some things he done, little, you know, small, you know, robbery. Not like, you know, but again, when they put the word robbery, you always got the worst connotations about it. It don't have to be that. It just, my fucking snowed a fucking snicker or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And got caught with some shit, some juvenile shit, right? And so they piled all that shit up. But what ended up happening was, he tried to get into the ambulance with this girl. Police was like, you know, no, motherfucker, you can't get your ass up in there. And, you know, he got into, you know, question why, you know how they do, you know, motherfucker, he got the little power, you know, they say little power corrupts absolutely. Power corrupts absolutely. So, you know, some motherfucker get a little bit of power, head swole up and shit. So they like, fuck it, you know, I'm gonna put a nigga in the, I'm trying to be sergeant or captain or some shit. I need more rest. So come on, I'm gonna put the cuffs on him. And somehow after they put the cuffs on him, they say he tried to resist arrest and go up for a gun. So they end up shooting and killing him. I think 2 cops end up shooting him, right? And they end up dismissing it as, you know, it has been, and again, like I said, like we say the score here with the DOS would be 242 to like 53, right? 242 years of existence in the land, and we only been a part of this shit really for about 52 years, right? 52 to 53 years, right? 65, about 53 years, right? So we getting blew out and shit. And so, you know, motherfuckers like doing that shit. And they like the fact that they blowing you out and then they, you know, they playing, you know, back you playing back in the day, motherfucker want to play. Instead of just running in and getting the touchdown shit, he doing some extra shit. He dancing and shit all the way to the, he get in and shit, you know what I'm saying? You already blowing motherfucker out. You embarrassing them now, right? Remember that shit that time when those who been around me when Dion did that shit, ran back and then went to the motherfucker. No, it wasn't Dion. It was, damn, what's his name? He's still trying to play now. What's his name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Number 81, played for San Francisco. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about. He trying to win in front of Dallas, got in the middle of that star, and they whooped his ass. Well, that's what it is, right? Y'all doing an embarrassing motherfucker. Y'all doing all this shit and keep on doing it. And so here you done did this shit to a community. You want to put a tree. You want to do all this shit. Oh, you niggas, they're not shit. Look at you eating funny rings. Well, our shit is conditioned. Our shit is by design. What's your fucking problem? Huh? What's your fucking problem? Huh? See, we can always trump. You know, we playing spade. I got a trump card for the bullshit you come with. I will trump your shit all day long. It's like playing dominoes, nigga. I got the motherfucker to win the game, smash and break the table. Every time you bring the shit, I got something for it. But the problem is you don't recognize the shit. You just stuck on what you want to believe. And you know what the funny thing is? Your people lie a lot. And you know your people lie a lot. You know your people lie a lot. But y'all go along with that shitty motherfucking way. Right? So anyway, that's what happened with this brother, right? He ended up losing his life over some bullshit. And so there's a rift in the community, right? There's a rift going on in the community. And so here they is trying, and that was, I think, back in 2015, 16. So here there's been a couple years, you know, people slowly trying to get back. You ain't gonna never have that kind of camaraderie with the neighborhood and the police because the bullshit they're going in. You got motherfuckers who got bad intent coming in any motherfucking way, right? The unseen ass shit. Nah, I don't give a fuck about all the decoration in the period, Mr. Friendly Officer, and you know all this shit. Your hucklebucking and shit. Kiki, do you love me? That shit don't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit don't be mean shit, right? That's what the little ones. They don't know no better, right? But we know how the game goes. They'll say you're doing that shit as a mockery to the community. But again, if you was having a conversation with another, like, white motherfucker and the nigga was there and they was having a conversation, y'all showed that, okay, yeah, nigga, I fucking you got funny rings and the fucking, now if you had that conversation, you and him could deal with that, could go back and shoot the shit back and forth. But when you do the shit for the whole community to see, that shit ain't cool. And y'all know that shit, they knew that shit wasn't cool, but I don't think they're gonna get fired anyway. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, moving on off that shit. But that's what that shit was about, right? So, let's keep with the theme. You know how it go. So, how about this, right? I didn't know this shit either, man. You know, I knew, again, I'm showing you, but I know, but I'm just saying, I wanted to show this to y'all, because everybody didn't know that shit, right? So let me show you this here, because, you know, symbols, right? You know, sometimes, you know, people move and they say real bad boys move in silence, right? Or they move in symbols, right? We going downtown, wherever you live, you go downtown, you see those symbols and shit on buildings and shit, and you don't be paying attention. You don't be knowing what that shit all about, right? So something as simple as this that a lot of people, again, you know, if you was a shorty once a day, used to eat cereal and shit, you used to, you know, go in there and grab you some milk and shit, right? You ain't thinking about that shit, but you some milk, eat some Captain Crunch peanut butter, and I got the cartoons on there, and them shit racist as fuck too. You know that Charles Schultz and Tex Avery and what's that motherfucker, Walt Disney, all the motherfuckers was on that shit. You know he was on that shit. You know, some shit we done seen over the years, right? So, but this part here, you would have not thought this. You would have not thought that this is the kind of shit. But let me show you. I ain't gonna talk about it. I'm gonna show you about it. Hold on right here. Check it out. Check it out.
All right, Tuesday night, we called out PETA for its latest campaign. PETA is telling Americans to stop drinking cow's milk because it's been co-opted by white supremacists. Here to respond, PETA spokesperson Ashley Byrne. Ashley, good for coming on. I want you to have your say, but this is a little out there for me. It's a little crazy, and I would say it's highly irresponsible. How do you defend it?
Well, thanks for having me on, Trish. First of all, let's be clear. This was not a PETA campaign. This is something that was pulled straight from reporting by the New York Times and other national media outlets. And they got their
that
facts.
Milk is racist.
And they got their facts straight from the Twitter and YouTube
they
and social media accounts.
Is racist. You guys said that.
White nationalists. White nationalists, including Richard Spencer, have been using milk as a symbol.
Why would you endorse that in any way?
Supremacy.
Why would you ever give that a voice? Why would you give a voice to white nationalists, for goodness sakes?
What? We want kind people who are disgusted by the idea of being affiliated with the cruelty and violence of white nationalism to know that the dairy industry is a cruel,
again,
violent
I'm going to go back
industry.
to what I said the other night. Highly irresponsible. Highly irresponsible. You know what, Ashley? There are studies after study after study, which shows that milk helps people to form strong bones. This is what I make my kids drink every night, and I wish you would too.
With all due respect, you are very behind the times if you believe that. That
comes
comes
gonna get into
straight
almond
from
milk and
dairy
soy milk. Here we go.
industry press releases. You know, when you and I were kids,
I actually did look at the numbers, and I'm going to pull this up. I think hang on. Let me actually be quiet for a second, because this is actually very important. I want people to actually see this. There are a lot more nutrients, 8 times the protein of almond milk. By the way, my son has a nut allergy, so almond milk is out. Cow milk has 2.5 times the potassium. Kids who drink cow milk are taller on average than children who don't, and the list goes on and on. And you know what? Not everybody out there in America can afford almond milk, which costs about 5 times as much. They cannot afford soy milk, and you'd rather see them lack those nutrients because you care about the cows?
What kids can't afford is the obesity, risk of diabetes, and other health problems that come along with a milk-heavy diet.
So I'm going to give you a little PR advice. I'm going to give you a little PR advice, Ashley. We only have a minute left, and I need to give you this advice.
No good for kids.
I need to give you this advice. Do not equate it with white supremacy. Do not tell people it is racist. This is where you lose us, okay? This is where. And by the way, let me just point out that you tried it last year.
Mother cows
last year you said milk was sexist.
Old.
I guess if sexism doesn't work, you go to racism. Well, clearly we're not getting anything accomplished here. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much, Ashley.
Dallas police officer Amber Geiger's family says they aren't racist, denies gesture and photos are white power signs. You know I'm going to say that again. Dallas police officer Amber Geiger's family says they aren't racist, denies gesture and photos are white power signs. This story was done and given to me by Natural Nature. Okay, the story was updated on 10 a.m. on Wednesday, and it has comments also from the Anti-Defamation League, which is the ADL. And this is how this story reads. Relatives of Dallas police officer who killed Botham Jean said Tuesday that they aren't racist despite social media chatter about photos of them. Specifically, internet sleuths had pointed to 3 photos of Officer Amber Geiger and her family as possible indications that they have white supremacy inclinations. Geiger, who is white, is now at the center of a national outrage over white officers shooting unarmed black men. Geiger shot Jean, who is black, in his apartment last week after she mistook his apartment for her own, exactly 1 floor below, authorities says. After the shooting, social media users noted photos of Geiger's brother-in-law, Noel Garza, making hand gestures that some believe might symbolize white power. But in a telephone interview Tuesday, Garza denied he or any member of Geiger's family has connection to white supremacists or supports their causes. He says the gestures were meant to be silly and fun. My last name is Garza. I'm a Mexican, he said. I don't care about your nationality. I don't care about the color of your skin. We all bleed red. Family members declined to discuss the shooting or Geiger, who has been charged with manslaughter. But they said they wanted to address accusation Geiger and her family are racist. The Anti-Defamation League, which is known for identifying hate groups, examined the pictures at the request of the Dallas Morning News. A spokesman for the ADL, Jake Hyman, said experts with the organization don't think there is any white supremacist intention here. The ADL maintained an online library with more than 170 hate symbols. Garza's gestures appear to have a partial resemblance to the so-called peckerwood and white power hand signs associated with white supremacists, but don't exactly match any in the ADL's database. None of these are racist photos, said Garza, 43, a former chef. I'm not a racist. The first photo shows Garza in a gray t-shirt and black shorts, gesturing with both hands. Garza said he's not flashing gang signs. The family was celebrating his father-in-law's birthday, he said. It was his 69th birthday, so it was a 69, said Garza. That's all it was. The hand gestures could resemble a 6 and a 9 from Garza's perspective, but appears backwards to a viewer of the photo. Garza's wife, Elena Geiger, who is Amber Geiger's sister, said the photo was taken in July 2018 at a Joe's Crab Shack in Grapevine. The second picture depicts Garza among 5 men. Some are making hand gestures and holding beers. In that photo, Garza said he is making an L and W with his hands. He said the photo was taken when he and friends went to see the punk band Lagwagon perform years ago at what is now Dos Quiets Pavilion in Fair Park. He's also wearing a black hat with the letter W and L overlapping. It's one of my favorite bands, Garza said. The third photo making the round show Geiger's mother in a white t-shirt that says, All Lives Matter. Elena Geiger said the shirt was a gift to her mother from her father after the July 7, 2016 downtown ambush in which a gunman killed 5 Dallas officers. The slogan All Lives Matter is a riff on the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter campaigns against racism and what its members see as the disregard for black lives, especially in shootings by police. All Lives Matter is often a retort from supporters of police and opponents of Black Lives Matter. Garza said he hates the fact that I have to prove I'm not racist.
I was just walking down the block with my family, and, you know, your typical Chabad guy, white beard, stopped in his tracks, just staring, slack-jawed, open mouth, while we crossed the street. And I turned around and waved at him and said, Shabbat Shalom. If you can stare, you can say hello. So he figured out how his mouth worked. He kept on with his day. But that was yesterday. That was like this past week. The way people think about the American Jewish narrative, or just the Jewish narrative in general, is generally a Eurocentric, Ashkenormative lens. You know, Jewish is like bagel and lox, Woody Allen, Barbra Streisand. And it's very highly cognitively dissonant. Jewish stereotypes are Eurocentric. Like, what's the stereotype of a black Jewish person? Or an Asian Jewish person, or a Hispanic Jewish person. None of those exist, because they don't think that we exist enough to even make a caricature of us. I grew up in the mid to late 80s, family of 7. We were one of the 3 African-American Chabad families of Crown Heights. Most people who are black and Jewish either have a non-Jewish black parent and a Jewish parent that is non-black. Both my parents were African-American and Jewish, and so it was sort of weaved into both of who they were. For Shabbats, we'd have to like stand up and give sort of a summary of the weekly Torah portion, and on Sundays as a family we watched on PBS little civil rights movements, like mini documentaries, so it was very much fully integrated in both of our identities. There's this sort of perception that race isn't a Jewish problem because Judaism doesn't concern itself with race. There's also the greater narrative saying that Jews aren't white, yet they don't seem to realize the double standard when somebody like myself walks into a room and it's like, how are you Jewish? Because I don't look white. It's weird sort of circular logic, which prevents real substantive conversations of race from happening. There's this passage, if God had not saved us, then us, our children, and our children's children would still be slaves in Egypt. And as someone African American, that resonates very differently than it does to someone who isn't Jewish, because we see the entire structure of a country where, oh, we were generous enough to give you, freedom, but let's roll back some of that affirmative action, or let's throw in some policing based on slave codes and all those things. And so that passage illustrates very succinctly the African American experience for us. How do I see my Jewishness? It's just my Jewishness. It's, I can't untangle that. It's like asking the color purple to untangle the red from the blue. It's purple. That's what it is. The Jewish community needs to understand there's not one way to look Jewish. The African American community needs to learn it's not one way to be authentically black. And anyone else in between doesn't fall into those two camps. You break down those sort of stereotypes and monoliths that they hold.
Once again, keep trying to take my mic off. I'm going to go and keep doing it again. You keep doing it. I don't get it. What is it that you don't want me talking about? Why if I put the phone number up here, you call me in instead of doing that? Instead of hiding behind the scenes, doing what you're doing, trying to get my mic to cut off. Why don't you call me and talk in front of everybody? Why don't you do that? Would you do that? Raise your hand so I know who he is. Raise your hand. Right? So, I didn't get to show you the actual aspect of the milk, right? I didn't give you the article on the milk part, right? Somehow, because again, somebody in here is working diligently trying to get my mic not to work, because obviously you're not liking what I'm saying, which I'm trying to figure out, what is it that I'm saying that you have a problem with, right? Yeah, I get it. It's not easy, man, but again, we wear it every day, right? We wear it every day, and these things are prevalent. They right in front of everybody's face. Some of our people don't really be knowing it, but again, that's my job. My job is to let you to inform my people about what it is that's going on out here. Now, if you got a problem, then that means that's kind of like Michael Jackson told the man in the mirror. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and wonder why you feel the way you do. Maybe because your people have been lying to you. They lied to you so much about it that you done took it and made it a reality, right? Right? That's what you make it a reality, and then you try to, take that figment of bullshit and fruition it into a reality. And then when people hit you with the truth, you seem to be bothered by it. It don't make sense. It really just, it's a sickness. You know what I'm saying? It's a sickness, but this is going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? Look at it for what it is. Don't let your people lie, man. And the thing is, the people that you hate the most, as much as you do to them, they don't. You see more people got more love for you when they probably should be really abstaining from you, but they still do everything, and that's not good enough for you. It's still not good enough for you. You still go all out your way, which shows you how deep. That's the problem with some people is, it's one thing to have a nation ideology about certain things, but you never had nobody as an outsider tell you the truth. It's like having a friend. A real friend gonna tell you, man, you on some bullshit, man. Pull your coattail. Bro, you on some bullshit, man. No, what it is motherfuckers come from different sectors and different houses who come from the same ideology and get together, and y'all all on bullshit. Y'all be on bullshit. But y'all believe that shit. And the people that you hate so much are the people you really secretly admire. As much as you need to elevate yourself to make them see that they ain't shit, I get it. But you gonna get it eventually. You understand what I'm saying? You seen what just happened not too long ago. Everybody got to reach the inevitable. You got to lay in that box. Everybody got to lay in the box. Nobody gets by. I don't care about how much science you try to give it. I don't care what you think you're going to Prometheus steal the fire. You got to come to the inevitable. Everybody got to taste that. All these lies y'all keep telling yourself. And you see the detriment that you causing to the fact that they not doing nothing to you. You're going to end up doing it to yourself. You know what that snake that turn around and eats his own tail? Consuming his own self? That's what's happening here. So you can hate me for what I'm saying. That ain't going to change any goddamn thing. You going to still be who you is. You, as old Teddy Pendergrass song said, you can't hide from yourself. Because everywhere you go, there you are. You can't fake it. Huh? You ain't going to be able to fake that. But you're going to keep trying. So if that's what floats your boat, you keep doing that. You keep on doing that. Now, I want to try to do is I want to get out that article that was about the damn milk. Right? I want you to see that that milk, as crazy as that sound, the reason why I brought that out, because there was an article on that. I guess motherfucker came in here. Did you come touch that too? Let me see if I can find that. Let me present that, because I think y'all need to see that. Let me see if I can find that right quick. Give me a second. Give me one high second. Let me see. That's that. Where is the other one? Where is that at? 'Cause you came in here to disrupt. That's what they do, right? You come in to try to disrupt. That ain't it either. So what happened today? You came in here and removed that set? Let's see. I know I got it. It got to be. Let's see. Come on. That one you need to see. Because, see, some people probably laugh. Wait, talking about milk and shit. And milk is not. No, milk, supposedly, again, we didn't come with this. This is already out there. It's already fucking known, right? But that's kind of strange, yeah, huh? Well, y'all working behind the scene, huh? Well, let me show you something. I'm going to go on and see. If this ain't it, I can go get it. Don't worry. Let me see. If this ain't it, all right, that ain't it. Okay, so you came in, you got that. That shows you something. Somebody, look at it. My little weak ass channel that you see I got over here, right? Nobody watching me. They keep me on a corner. I can't get past 100, right? I've been doing this for a period of time, but I really wasn't doing it the way I'm doing it now. I kind of was off and on doing what I do. Most of you who do come over here because you've seen the White Extinction, right? That one got to 250,000, then they stopped it. It can't get another view. I don't care how many times you watch it. The number will not click. It says inappropriate, but they didn't ban it, didn't give me a check because nothing in it was there. It's just the fact that what is being said, you just don't like it. Ain't that a bitch? I have to take everything you fucking give, but if I give some truth and say, hey, look about this, and matter of fact, wasn't even about to even shade you. All it was about was like, hey, man, look, what's going on with y'all, man? You know, y'all got some problems going on over here, right? You know, you got some problems going on, right? All right, so let me go ahead and put this in for y'all right quick. Don't go nowhere. Just hold on 1 second. This ain't going to take but a second. Yeah, okay, you went and did that, huh? Man, boy, I feel privileged. You know, I feel privileged that you go all out your way for somebody, little rinky-dink ass channel, and more people come by here and will pay no mind to it. Be like, there ain't nothing going on over there. But check this out. Let me go ahead and play it because I know you didn't expect me to do that. I know you didn't. I know you didn't. But check this out. All right, I got it. So here we go. Let me play this for y'all because you should have got this part. So let me go ahead and play it. Or one more thing, and then you want to cut my mic again? Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do, man. The troubling link between milk and racism. You know I'm gonna say that again. The troubling link between milk and racism. White supremacists claim they are just trolling liberals with their milk love, but scholars say there's history behind this. This story was also done in the Huffington Post, December 6, 2018, and this is how it reads. A young man with neo-Nazi tattoos spits milk towards the video camera. Another man holding a jug of milk says you might not like it, but this is the face of white nationalism. The group of men were gathered to protest an anti-Trump video installation, "He Will Not Divide Us," in Queens, New York in February 2017. Following the protests in New York, the pictures of milk alongside white nationalism went viral. Figures affiliated with the alt-right included Richard Spencer and Tim Baked Alaska Gionette added milk emojis to their Twitter display names, and the hashtag #MilkTwitter was used as a dumping ground for racist trolls. Later in 2017, Lou Winrich, a former correspondent to the right-wing news blog Gateway Pundit, who has appeared on a white nationalist podcast, drank from a glass of milk as protesters heckled him during a speech. These and other incidents have been described as evidence that some white supremacists are co-opting cow's milk as a symbol of their belief that white people are wholesome and pure. Right-wing news sites like Breitbart have mocked this suggestion. Those who noted milk's popularity with white supremacists have been taunted as fools who fell from what was just a prank that was not meant to be taken seriously. But whether or not the alt-right was indulging in a trolling exercise, some academics say these events are part of a murky history involving cow's milk. Iceland Gambert, an associate professor of legal research and writing at George Washington University in Washington, is co-authoring a forthcoming paper that argues milk has long been used as a symbol for a tool of white supremacy. A draft version can be read online. Animal milk products, Gambert told HuffPost, have become ubiquitous around the globe, including in regions with little or no history of a dairy industry. She noted the dairy industry has long marketed milk as universally healthy, even though roughly 65% of the world's population has a reduced ability after infancy to digest lactose found in unprocessed milk. Lactose intolerance is complex and very difficult to measure, but several studies, including a 2010 report produced from the United States Department of Health and Human Services, has found that people of color are more likely to report symptoms of lactose intolerance. Yet milk and milk products have formed the backbone of some food initiatives in the United States. The United States Department of Agriculture, National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, and Special Milk Programs all provide milk to children in public and non-private schools. It's a policy that has been criticized by law professor Andrea Freeman for pushing harmful amounts of saturated fats into the diets of children and disproportionately affecting communities of color. A USDA spokesperson said the special milk program allows substitution to be made for children who cannot consume milk if a parent or guardian submits a request in writing. And the National Dairy Council, the NDC, a lobbying group for the dairy industries, echoed that, saying that under the federal programs, schools will provide non-milk substitute to children who report trouble digesting milk. However, the NDC spokesperson also suggests that more people can drink milk than some critics argue. In American culture today, limited lactose digestion is common but variable among people of African Americans, Hispanic, Asians, and Native American descent, but not always a reason to avoid dairy foods, the spokesperson told HuffPost. The dairy industry has been pushing the ideal of milk as an integral part of the healthy diet for a long time. In her book, Natural Perfect Foods, How Milk Became Americans' Drink, sociologist Melanie Dupuis cites an NDC publication distributed in the 1920s that quotes a nutritionist saying, "People who have an appreciation for art, literature, and music, who are progressive in science and every activity of human intellects, are the people who have used liberal amounts of milk and its products. Dupuis' book describes how the white beverage was symbolically linked in the early 20th century to white-skinned people who were better able to digest it due to a genetic mutation known as lactase persistence. By declaring milk perfect, she wrote, white Northern Europeans announced their own perfection. The NDC declined to comment on industry marketing materials cited in the various studies. Milk drinking is not just a practice of Western culture, the spokesperson told HuffPost, but shares a part of a human existence around the world. Gambert stressed that her research should not be construed to insinuate that people who drink dairy milk are in any way racist or that milk itself is inherently bigoted, but the issues in milk history, she said, makes its co-option as a symbol of white nationalism, whether ironic or not, all the more significant. Milk is different than other things, which may be more randomly chosen. There is the reality that milk has historical ties to being used in racist practice, she said. There are those who find it funny to use milk as a symbol of white nationalism and tweet offensive content under the hashtag MilkTwitter to provoke people, said Gambert. But saying it all a prank doesn't mean that the milk isn't being used to support racist belief. For more content and to be part of this new world community, follow them on Facebook. All right, so that was the article that was done about the milk. As you can see that the symbolism in milk by a particular group is using it as representation of something to do with self, right? And when you think about, remember the milk campaigns they used to show the athlete black people had a little rim of milk around their mouth and all that other stuff. Again, see the symbology, right? You never know that the organization and people and how they doing things. Because I remember seeing it was a governor somewhere, right? I seen I never thought about that. And you have think about it, you've seen some movies or TV shows. You sitting there drinking a glass of milk. Didn't know he just sent off a message about white nationalists. Right? Well, something innocent like that, right? And its representation, again, as it talked in the article, said that most of the people who are lactose tolerant, people who are African Americans and Hispanic Americans and all that, other ethnicities other than white people, seem to not be too lactose intolerant. It's more they have a higher consumption, and then it had the little. They're much smarter, and the people who are a lot more intellectual because they drink a lot of milk, right? I always got that there's always a connotative language is always there, right? So, and then going back to some of the other stuff that was talked about, well, the black dude that was a Jew, right? As he was shown, here he is as a Jew. And, he grew up. That was that's his religion. Because, a lot of people confused with that. Because a lot of people take being Jewish is a race. But it ain't a race. How could it be a race? But it's Judaism, right? Which is a religion. So how did that become a race? I haven't figured that one out yet. But, again, I know the origins of where they're coming from, and they've been coming about of Europe, then if the rest of them are European, then what makes them not European, like they something different unless there was some mixture later on as we, the story of what they follow and so forth. But again, that brother was, a rabbi that, I guess his work, his profession is dealing with, but they would have problems with him, yet he speak what they know, and they say mouth be wide open like, well, you don't look like a Jew. Or he said, well, what does a Jew look like? Because again, in the book that we read, it sure don't say white folks, right? But see, again, that's to go back to the thing about saying earlier about them cutting these, whoever that is, keep coming over here doing what they do to get my mic cut. right? You know, your people lie, man. We got lies in all nations. Let's put it this way. People lie in all nations, but then let's just take that, a mantra that is being used to you know, cause the wedge and make you, you know, have problems with another people based on the bullshit that your people have lied about. And you take that shit to heart. You make that shit a reality. You make organizations, and you make other people, and you raise up other ones, and you got all this hate. And it's like, you can't even name. It's kind of like how they're taking, say, Louis Farrakhan, right? And they're talking about the Nation of Islam. But you can't say that the Nation of Islam and Farrakhan and them, even though you may not like his rhetoric and stuff that he might be saying, right? But you can't say that that organization have done anything that has come to do anything against any harm to any other people. You can't say that. But yet y'all classify them as that. But if we take this other group and we look at it, and we could go through the history of it, and we'll see that it gets physical and bodily harm and death and all that other things. So it's like, where's this boogeyman of people of color at? Where do they live at? Because y'all sure ain't seen them, and they sure haven't existed, but you keep acting if they do. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Again, as Malcolm says in the intro, a lot of this got to do with, you know, your own guilt. And that's what it boils down to. Your own guilt does this. So, moving on, right? Because they kind of threw me off a little bit. So, we got to get to the nitty gritty of it, right? We got to get down to the nitty gritty. Because, let's see, let me see where I'm at. Because I'm not sure what's this is here. Let's see. Well, let's see. Yeah, well, 1 or 2. Well, how about this? You know what? Let's do this. Because, you know, I seen this article, right? And, you know, everybody be talking about the MAGA hat and all that stuff. They be like, okay, make America great again. And I always say, well, what made America great the first damn time? It had something to do with subjugating and having people working from sun up to sundown, and the profits of capitalism was great and abundance, and people had Monticello and acreages of land and everything, opulence. Right? That was great for one side of the equation, right? So I'm looking now that they say make America great again, but I've seen that, you know, one business that I know that goes back to that particular time, right? So you had sugar that was in, say, in South America, and here you had cotton, and you had another product, tobacco, right? Tobacco was big in this land, right? But tobacco is starting to fall off, right? Tobacco don't have the same appeal as it used to, because again, now that the studies are coming out, people knowing they're getting cancer, a lot of health problems dealing with the smoke, right? Well, I seen this story come up, and I was like, wow, I wonder what this about. All right, so let me show you, then come back. Hopefully this is the right one. So let me see what this is, and come on back. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. The
troubling link between milk.
Hold on, that's not it. That's not what we just did, that one. So that ain't the right one. It must be this one. All right, let's see. Where did that one go? All right, so let me try this. Hold on, let me see before I do that, because, like I say, they came over here and did some hacking and fucking with my shit. So it's all twisted up now. It ain't where I had it. So bear with me for a second. Okay, I got this part. Okay, so I got that. And this. Okay, so these two, and then I got it now. Let's go. Let's get it. So 1 second. Go back here. No, not go there. Go here first. All right, go there. Now let's get it. Might be slow. Yeah, y'all still fucking with it, huh? Okay. It's being slow about it, y'all. So give it a second. Oh, they're being slow. All right. See, people don't want to believe what I be telling you. I say, hey, man, you're fucking with me, man. All right, so here you go. Marlboro's owner invests more than $1.5 billion in cannabis business. You know I'm going to say that again. Marlboro owner invests more than $1.5 billion in cannabis business. This story was done December 8th, 2018. And this is how it reads. It says, Altria, owner of Marlboro tobacco brand, will invest $1.8 billion, or about 1.58 billion euros, at Kronos Group, a company specializing in cannabis. According to CNN, the goal is to find a new growth sector as traditional cigarette sales are down. The Kronos Group regards you as a Canadian company, a country that has liberalized this year, especially for recreational purposes, the use of cannabis. Altria will now hold 45% of the company, with the guarantee that in the next 5 years, its participation in this company will increase to 55%. Investing Kronos Group as exclusive partners for the emerging global cannabis market represents a new and exciting growth opportunity for Altria, said Howard Willard, CEO of Altria, in a statement quoted by CNN. The U.S. channel has also urged that the United States government may be in the process of approving a law making cannabis productions legal and opening new doors to the market. Many alcoholic beverages and tobacco companies, for example, intend to rely on cannabis. CNN argues that Coca-Cola is one of the companies that plans to invest in Aurora Corporation, which is ACB, and a Canadian cannabis company. So, it looks like tobacco, Marlboro gonna beat them first, is going to invest in cannabis. At this point, Altria is going to be 45%. You know how business go. 5 years, they're going to actually be the major stockholder. So they'll be pretty much their company, 55%, right? So I'm saying, okay, looks like every states are slowly implementing recreational use for marijuana, right? So I mean, there's going to be a lot of consuming and consumption and consumerism in that. Well, who the fuck is going to start growing and who's going to be harvesting all this shit? Y'all thought about that shit? Who the fuck they gonna do? Who they gonna get to do that? Huh? Is this the new? This like the gold rush, right? It's gonna be the new crop. Ain't talking about that crop shit, huh? Make America great again. What they say? Well, what the hell did America? What do America build? Oh, is that why they might be gutting out California? Well, I don't know. Hey, you know, I'm just, you know, don't pay no attention to me. Don't tell you what the fuck I'm just talking, right? McDonald's and Coca-Cola, everybody thought they all gonna get in that business, right? Huh? So it's a gold rush, huh? But I'm trying to figure out who gonna do the planting, who gonna do the harvesting. You know, think about it. If you smoke some weed and got the buzz, you know, somebody pick that. They can't. I don't know if you probably, you know, find a machine. I guess you could, right? Like the cotton gin, right? Right? Maybe, right? Other than that, you're going to need some hands. Somebody playing? Food for thought. That's all I'm going to tell you. Food for thought. When the tobacco companies start saying, hey, get us some of that weed shit, I bet our company going down. We need to reinvigorate. We need to change with the time. So I'm just saying, stay tuned. Well, got to the end of the show, and you know who there's going to be. You know who it is. It's been talked about pretty much, right? So I got to go ahead and touch it. I had already kind of touched it before this all came out, because remember I talked about the first time I seen him cut my mic, right, was with the Pope. When the Pope talked about what he talked about, right? So we see here, you know, individual has decided that, you know, he would sacrifice not doing something to take his stance, and, you know, a lot of people are upset about it, right? Let me play this, and then I should come back and finish out the show. See who all up in the house before we get out of here. And let me play this and be right back. Tell you, boy. Let's see. Hold on. Is that the right one? Yeah, that's the right one.
Was all set to host the Academy Awards, and he's a funny guy. What happened there?
Laura, the Academy wanted, and ABC wanted, just what they did in the case of Roseanne Barr, a larger-than-life, edgy act that would draw a big audience. But when controversy followed, they ran for the exits. Let's go back to 2010. This is a bit of Kevin Hart's act. So you see what ABC knew they were getting into. Watch.
One of my biggest fears is my son growing up and being gay. If I can prevent my son from being gay, I will. Every kid has a gay moment, okay? Every kid. But when it happens, you got to nip it in the bud. You got to stop it right there. Hey, stop! That's gay. It's quick. No.
Now, Hart also wrote similar tweets, and over the years, ABC and the Academy had to know this. Now, they fired a director, remember, a few years back for making an anti-gay slur on Twitter, and you will remember why they probably hired Hart. He's a beloved African-American performer in this age of Oscars so white, and because of what he said at the MTV Video Music Awards, Laura, earlier this year, you'll remember he sided with the NFL kneelers, and he told the president, quote, Trump, suck it. Well, lovely. The Academy loved the Trump-bashing, edgy, crass Hart until Hollywood and the community started pushing back on social media, calling him homophobic, anti-gay, and they reached out to Hart. Watch.
Just got a call from the Academy, and that call basically said, Kevin, apologize for your tweets of old, or we're going to have to move on and find another host. Talking about the tweets from 2009, 2010. I chose to pass. I passed on the apology. The reason why I passed is because I've addressed this several times.
He decided not to apologize. He said, I'm not going to apologize. He eventually collapsed, and he did apologize. But what this demonstrates, ABC, which is the network involved, and the Academy Awards, they did not learn the Roseanne Barr lesson, which is when the PC dogma moves in and makes demands on you, stand firm. You can get people to apologize for outrageous things, but you can't collapse and throw your talent overboard, or comedy, the lane for comedy is going to narrow. Well, nobody wants hate, but give people an option, give them an opportunity.
What did we just play? Was it last night from Jerry Seinfeld when he was on?
We have another clip of Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, a longer clip.
Watch this, because it speaks to just this issue. Comedy is by its nature dangerous and edgy.
But doesn't it, and in that clip with Kevin Hart, just before we go on, he sounds like he's like a self-caricature. It's comedy. He's not really believe what he's saying. He's just trying to make a fun moment. And I understand how people would say, "Oh, that's not," and I get it. But the idea that he actually, that's the way he really
That
feels.
he
Of course
hates
it's
gay
not.
people.
Of course it's not the way he feels.
Watch this. Seinfeld.
I do this joke about the way people need to justify their cell phone. I need to have it with me because people are so important. Right. You know, I said, well, they don't seem very important the way you scroll through them like a gay French king. And they thought, what do you mean gay? What are you talking about gay? What are you saying gay? What are you doing? What do you mean? You know? And I thought, are you kidding me?
This is the problem. Everybody's so sensitive. We need to have our foibles and who we are lampooned so we can laugh together and get past the biases.
Everyone can laugh at each other. And Don Rickles, would he be able to even perform today?
Rickles would never be able to leave the house.
Jerry Seinfeld won't go to college campuses because humor is dead. You cannot forget it. All right.
Kevin Hart says he won't host Oscar after fury over homophobic tweets. You know I'm going to say that again. Kevin Hart says he won't host Oscars after fury over homophobic tweets. This story was done December 7, 2018 from the CNN, and this is how it reads. Kevin Hart is stepping down from hosting the Oscars after homophobic tweets surfaced on Thursday. The tweets between 2009 and 2011 included derogatory language referring to gay people and made disparaging comments about sexuality. In one of the tweets from 2011, among some that have been deleted, the comedian actor said, "Yo, if my son comes home and tries to play with my daughter's dollhouse, I'm going to break it over his head and say in my voice, stop, that's gay." I have made the choice to step down from hosting this year's Oscar. Hart, who is currently performing in Sydney, Australia, announced late Sunday on Twitter, "This is because I do not want to be a distraction on a night that should be celebrated by so many amazing, talented artists. I sincerely apologize to the LGBTQ community for my insensitive words from my past. I'm sorry that I hurt people. I'm evolving and want to continue to do so. My goal is to bring people together, not to tear us apart. Much love and appreciation to the Academy. I hope we can meet again." Dear Oscar, stop trying to push the envelope. Hart announced on his official Instagram page that he would host the Academy Awards for the first time in the coming year. For years I had been asked if I would ever host the Oscars, and my answer was always the same. I said that it would be the opportunity of a lifetime for me as a comedian and that it will happen when it's supposed to, he wrote when he announced the news on Tuesday. In another Instagram post on Thursday, Hart said the Academy asked him to apologize or they would find another host. Hart said he chose not to issue the apology and stepped down instead, saying he did not want to continue to feeding the internet trolls. The reason why I passed is because I have addressed this several times, Hart said. I'm not going to continue to go back and forth in the days of old when I moved on and I'm a completely different space in my life. Chad Griffin, the head of the LGBT civil rights advocacy group called the Human Rights Campaign, responds to Hart on Twitter. "You have a rare opportunity to take responsibility, teach people in this moment, and send a message to the LGBTQU that they matter and deserve dignity and respect. You say you're grown, show us. Make amends for hurtful things you said and affirm LGBTQ people," Griffin said. On Friday morning, Hart posted another tweet, this time to share a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. "The ultimate measure is not whether he stands in moments of comfort and convenience," it reads, "but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." CNN has reached out for Hart's team and the Academy for a response. This is not the only time Hart has addressed controversy over social media. Last year, he came forward to admit he had cheated on his pregnant wife, Eniko Parrish, Ahead of an extortion plot months later, the Los Angeles District Attorney Office charged his former friend with using video evidence of Hart affair to attempt to extort him. I'm not going to allow a person to have financial gain off of my mistakes, and in this particular situation, that was what was intent. Hart said, I said I'd rather fess up to my mistakes. Hart movies include Night School, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and Ride Along. All right. So again, everybody pretty much knows what done took place with the Kevin Hart situation. He stepped down due to the simple fact that some things that he said, right? And again, as I did last show, right? It was the last show. Those who've seen the last show, where I had did the article that was about the Vatican and about the Pope was putting a decree or actually trying to clean house, and said that those who had the tendencies, or if this is their lifestyle or this is who they were, that this being a consecrated life, that this is not the place because of all the allegations and things that have taken place. And they shut the mic down, right? They shut my mic down because, again, on the title I had homosexual, right? And I guess that those terms, right, are they antiquated? They outdated now? Is that what that is? Because again, I'll go to, let's say, Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia said that gay says this: a gay is a term that primarily refers to a homosexual person or the trait of being homosexual. The term was originally used to mean carefree, cheerful, or bright and showy. The term used as a reference to homosexuality may date as early as the late 19th century, but its use gradually increased in the 20th century. In modern English, gay has come to be used as an adjective and as a noun referring to the people and the practice and culture associated with homosexuality. In the 1960s, gay became the word favored by homosexual men to describe their sexual orientation. By the end of the 20th century, the word gay was recommended by major LGBT groups and style guides to describe people attracted to members of the same sex. At about the same time, a new pejorative use became prevalent in some parts of the world. Among younger speakers, the word has a meaning ranging from derision, equivalent to rubbish or stupid, to a light-hearted mockery or ridicule. Right? So equivalent to weak, unmanly, or lame. In this use, the word rarely means homosexual, as it is often used, for example, to refer to an inanimate object or abstract concept of which disapproves. The extent to which these uses still remain connotations of homosexuality has been debated and harshly criticized. So, okay, so according to the word itself, it describes, right? It's describing what the term that had been, they got labeled with that, right? Now, what else? Okay, so I guess the LGBT, is that what it is? But, okay, so the joke that, let's say that Kevin Hart had done, right? And again, that was on his job. That was what he do, right? So it's kind of like, remember the story I did where those kids did the Heil Hitler in front of the high school, and they said that they weren't doing Heil Hitler. They was actually waving. The photographer told them all to wave with their hand, but when the picture was taken, they all looked like they was doing Heil Hitler, right? And they said, and so the ADL and all them came after them, and they said, well, we were waving. You can't tell whether we was doing or not. Well, how does the same thing with him? How do you know that the story, as they were saying, that he meant what he said, other than the fact that he was displaying a joke? Now, you may not like the joke, and that's just how jokes are, right? Sometimes people say some things, again, like the saying is, if I got a rock and there's a crowd of dogs, if I throw the rock, only the dog that yells is the only dog that guy hit. So normally when you start yelling, it's because you got hit, right? So as I said, not being manly and so forth. Okay, again, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay, you know what I'm saying? No, don't get twisted, y'all. I ain't afraid to say what I gotta say. What I'm trying to say again, it's confusing. The whole point, it comes down to being confusing because it's like, again, when is the LGBT group gonna take y'all ass and go fight the damn church? That's where your fucking problem is at. Your problem is with the church. Your asses need to go and say, hey, what y'all say in that book ain't, okay, battle them, because again, society has been molded by the ideology of the book. Now, either you get the Pope and them to say that that ain't true, that that's a lie, and God never said it, and if God said it, then you just gonna have to deal with the stigmatization that comes with it. But you can't have both. Do I need to say that again? Do I need to say that again? I think y'all need to take y'all ass and battle between the church and the LGBTQ, whatever how you want to use the alphabet and call it. Y'all need to fight against the church. That's the only way you're going to be able to get society to take whatever you think negative connotations of what all that is. That's the only way. Because I don't even really think it's really of a negative connotation. I think it's more of the internalness that you feel. Because again, if I'm a heterosexual, right? There ain't shit you could tell me if you start talking, well, you like women. What? You goddamn right I like women. You understand? I ain't gonna be having a problem with you saying that. So why is it that, you know, a segment of people whose lifestyle is what it is, why do you feel so like people ridiculing you if this is who you are? I'm not understanding that. You understand? Make that shit make sense, because y'all confusing the shit out of everybody. I mean, you have parades, right? They have parades and they do what they do. Okay, now in the case of Kevin Hart, they say, well, maybe because the joke went across and they're saying about kids and saying, you know, that's gay. You know, you trying to stop them in the tendency because he said, well, that's natural. Again, as a person who that pertains to, that's from your perspective. But from a person who's from the other perspective, who is considered heterosexual, right? Do he not want to produce heterosexual like himself? Well, yes, he do. Yes, he does. Because again, sex is the procreation to reproduce self. Now, this is where the problem is going to come in when you are, your lifestyle is, or this who you are. You're going to have problems with that. That's where your issue comes in at. You cannot procreate life. Right? So if the continuous of life, then if that person and they heterosexual, then that's what they trying to do. They're trying to have the continuous of self. Now again, to each his own, that's your lifestyle, that's what you do. But that, you know, the buck stops where you at. It don't go no further. Now, we did read tonight where it talked about uterus and talking about a transgender. And is this, maybe it's part of the plan. Okay, then, okay, maybe that's part of the damn plan. But I'm just saying that he said some things that might have rubbed in the way he said it. Okay, maybe, you know what I'm saying, that he's like, okay, again, like you say, people have children and they see certain things and then they kind of observe it and they said, okay, but, you know, if, you know, some people a little bit more like, okay, they ain't like the old school way, see it and they want to be, no, they're a little more tolerance has been now, right? Because again, they've been permeating and saturating, so it's not as it was at one time. But some people still going to hold on to, again, they're trying to, again, keep the family going. And in that case, in that way, you can't do it. We have to be honest. You got to be honest with it. That lifestyle is going to stop where you stop at. It doesn't go any further. Yes, you can adopt. right? You can get surrogacy. But as it to yourself and replicating you, it cannot on both sides, whether it's, you know, whether it's man or female on that life. It can't happen. So it's not nobody really knocking. It's just, I think there's something that I think that right there makes you feel a little bit unbalanced, is because you know that's the one thing you cannot do. You can love like people who would be considered to be heterosexual. Love, happy, all that good stuff. But the one thing you cannot do is you cannot produce life. And that's where the issue gonna fall it with. And I think that's that little stick in the head that makes y'all feel that way. Right? Maybe that's what makes you feel that way. So, as in Kevin Hart's situation, he did the right thing. He said, I already said what I said about it, and no need to do it. Right? And again, his stance is what he gonna do in his household with his children is what he gonna do. That's his. Again, you don't get to, again, your lifestyle is your lifestyle. You don't get to permeate that on everybody else and make everybody else feel like because of you. No. If that's who you is, y'all take it. Smile with it. What's this whole thing that y'all, you know, people feeling ashamed? Then it can't be authentic, right? It's like I said, as a heterosexual man, there's nothing you can say about me and the woman that gonna piss me the fuck off and make me mad. There's nothing. They say my woman ugly or some shit like that, but other than that, ain't shit you can say. So I think motherfuckers just need to go back into the drawing board and look at this shit and just realize that, okay, you know, figure that shit out. But again, I'm telling y'all, you need to take y'all ass and go fight against the church. Get them to take the shit out of the literature. If you can convince them and say that God didn't say that, because once you get them to say that, you know, they said like going to court and having a case. Your credibility shot. Once you find you lying in one motherfucking thing, all the rest of it. That's going to be the end of that shit. So good luck fighting that shit, right? Good luck. So I said what I had to say on that shit. Again, it is what it is, right? People, I mean, come on, man. And, you know, we all got to live in this motherfucker the same way. But the thing is, you know, everybody get ridiculed. I mean, shit, coming up, that used to be part of it. It had to do with about your sexual preference. Shit, you got talked about whether something, you know, your teeth was crooked, your clothes wasn't straight, your hair wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? You could get it. Anybody could get it. So I don't know, you get the, you know, it's kind of like another people trying to say that the atrocity of life, they the only ones get that. They get because they the Holocaust. Nobody else ain't had a Holocaust. Like they the number one always get it. Right? You do with them is always they number one. That ain't true. There's a lot of people shit who way worse than your shit. But you act like you get the market and corner their shit. And that's the same thing here. You think like you get the corner and market it. No, you don't. You don't get that. You got to take the lumps like everybody else take the lumps. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bit too sensitivity in that. And then, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And so, but you don't see people just going out like the way. Again, that's his job. Again, they're restricting. You know, this freedom of speech and all this stuff is trying to be restricted because, again, you know, maybe some of this shit, again, ain't as authentic. And so they know it, and the sensitivity is fucking with them, and so they don't want you saying shit, right? So anyway, it's my show for the night, y'all. Let me see who out here. Guy in the house. Got, who is this? I got Furious God in here. Never seen you before, but what's good, fam? Natural Nature, what's good? What's good, fam? I did your piece tonight. Fella Cootie 1360 and the Indigenous King in the house, right? So you know what it is on the 3-hour mark. You know, I never tried to do that long, but I did it anyway. But again, you know, we got, you know, this shit, man. We all got to live in this shit. And so people can't be acting like they get the corner of the market. You know what I'm saying? If you question this shit and you're a little sensitive about it, you got to ask them how real you looking at that shit. And if again, you're going to have to tighten it up a little bit, right? Because, you know, some people kind of, again, tradition and culture, right? Again, they say in their culture and so forth. Okay, well, there's the heterosexuals got a culture, but they don't get the flunk. They ain't out here doing all this shit. And everybody trying, and don't see like ain't nobody infringing on that. What about that? Ain't there some infringing on the heterosexual aspect of life? Yeah, there is. But you know what? They're not saying anything about it. Right? Because they're going to do what they're going to do. Right? When a situation like that happens, you deal with it accordingly. And that's it. Now, some of that shit that you see like on, what's that damn show? I don't be watching that shit. What's that shit? What's that show? Not Power. What's that other one? Empire, right? When they had that scene in there, and I think that was the director put some shit about his own self and throwing in the garbage can and all that shit. Now, again, you're gonna have people who just, got people who you raised by that just, got issues. And so you're gonna be the blunt of that shit. But that don't mean everybody like that. Right? So y'all can't get you ain't gonna be able to corner that market. And if you do, you really docile in the naturalness of society. And that's not saying, I'm just saying the naturalness. Certain shit just gotta be the way it is. That's just the natural way it is. And everything else, okay, there's some adaptations to it. There's some shit people either learn to get along, or some people ain't never gonna accept it. But that don't give you the right to corner the shit and say, no, you can't. No, this shit is new. This shit is new. This, again, if you knew, you don't be on the planet, you brand new, smell car, brand new car smell on your ass. Okay, this from you been here, but this game been going on long before you got here. So they, again, let's say, for instance, how does that, let's say if people talk about the stigmatization of being gay, homosexual, whatever you want to call it, how do you get over being people who being black? How do you jump over that? Okay, I see you try to make this connection, a bridge, to say that the same plight that you're going through is equivalent to being black. I beg to differ. I disagree with that shit totally. Being black and being gay is two different shit. Yes, you might be going through some shit, but we went through way more shit that had nothing to do about no sexual preference. Nothing to do with that. So I think, you know what I'm saying, that people need to put that shit in its right place and context and quit trying to go over our shit, our plight, what we've been through. It's not saying it can't be recognized, but we've been in this line longer than you've been in this line. Now, historically, other than being here, that might go way back, going back to Greek, Rome, right? That might be there. But we ain't talking about here. It probably existed, right? A lot of that shit had to be in closet. We know that. We get it. But the black plight is a bigger game. Way bigger game. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who came here tonight, came hang out with it. Again, hit that like button, man. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. The show gonna get even better as time going on. I'm just working out a lot of the kings. There you go. This is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet, due to the simple fact that I will talk about some things that most people will not and shy away. Keep the videos going. I like what you're doing. Okay, Furious God. I hear you, brother. I like that. I'll do what I can, man, till they cut it off. They will do that. So, again, peace, everybody. Stay black. Stay beautiful. Get everybody that universal nine when you see them. Get all that hate from one another, because, again, that fight ain't what that is. That's other people imposing their shit on us, making us have those issues. So what you got to do is take that petty shit away and understand that, again, John Henry Clark said, the only friends we got and the only family we got is us. Until we recognize that, ain't shit moving. So until the next show, peace, love, and hair grease and watermelon.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on. And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they've died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin.
They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is over. older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. 3, 4. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to bits! You can't make me do anything like Chris! Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslim. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga, and if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, Brother Greg, you coming by today. And I said, Malcolm, I love you. And I said, I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there. He said, what do you mean, Brother Greg? I said, well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East. And I said, but I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get 2 of us for the price of 1. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you.